So there I was, dead. Again. Let me back up. In my previous life, I was a soldier in the 23rd century during a zombie apocalypse. Pretty cool, right? I had superpowers, I could open portal doors, I was basically the MVP of my squad. Then my best friend stabbed me in the chest and shoved me into a horde of zombies because she was jealous. Classic betrayal. 0 stars. Would not recommend. I figured that was it for me. Game over. Credits rolling. But nope, I woke up tied to an execution block in some ancient kingdom called Li, with a crowd screaming for my head. Literally. Turns out I landed in the body of a woman who shares my name, Luo Wanning. Lucky me, she was married into the Han family, the big-shot military clan. Her husband? Some general named Han Maching who she married under pressure, spent one night with, thanks to some sneaky drugged incense from her mother-in-law, got pregnant with triplets, and then didn't see the guy for 6 years. She couldn't even remember what he looked like. Honestly? Relatable. The original Wanning had a rough life. Parents died young. Uncles treated her like a plague, and her grandpa married her off to honor an old debt. Then her father-in-law got accused of treason, selling out the country, losing 2 cities, the whole deal. Him and her husband vanished. Missing. The emperor threw a fit and sentenced everyone connected to the family to death. The original Wanning was so scared, she literally died of fright before the blade even dropped. And that's when I moved in. So picture this. I open my eyes, head pounding, memories flooding in, and there's an executioner warming up his big shiny blade right next to me. The crowd's throwing rotten vegetables. It's hot. It stinks. Great first day. My mother-in-law, tough lady, I'll give her that, screamed at the heavens that the family was innocent. She cursed the sky, said it would snow in summer if they were wronged. And you know what? Dark clouds rolled in, and wind started howling. The crowd got nervous. I was honestly a little impressed. Then, right when the blade was about to drop, some eunuch came galloping in on horseback yelling, "Stop the execution." Very dramatic. Very last second. He whipped out a fancy yellow scroll, a royal decree. The emperor had changed his mind. No more death sentence. Instead, exile. 3,000 miles north to the frozen borderlands. Tomorrow, at dawn. Everyone acted like this was merciful. Buddy, that's basically a death sentence with extra walking. But hey, I was alive. I'll take it. They threw us back in a jail cell, and even gave us a nice meal like that made up for the whole almost chopping our heads off thing. My mother-in-law snuck a steamed bun into her sleeve for me. Sweet woman. Now here's where it gets fun. See, I didn't come to this world empty-handed. I still had my powers, my pocket dimension where I can store stuff, and my portal doors. So when night fell and everyone was asleep, I pulled a lockpick set out of my storage space, popped open my chains, knocked everyone out so they wouldn't notice me leaving, and opened a portal. Destination? The Imperial Treasury. I walked right past all those guards. They were watching the doors like idiots while I portaled straight inside. It was pitch dark, but I had my little fox spirit helping me see. And oh boy, the loot. Gold. Silver. Jewels. Mountains of it. I started stuffing everything into my dimensional pocket. Gold bars? Mine. Silver ingots? Mine. Fancy pearls? Don't mind if I do. I cleaned that vault out like a raccoon in a dumpster. If that trash emperor was going to exile my family to freeze in the north, the least I could do was take his retirement fund. By the time dawn came, every last coin was gone, and I was back in my cell, chains on, looking innocent. Nobody suspected a thing. So let's talk about my haul from last night's little shopping spree at the Imperial Treasury. After converting everything gold, silver, jewels, fancy vases, probably someone's retirement savings, I ended up with roughly 150 million gold coins, 800,000 taels of gold, 60 million taels of silver, plus miscellaneous sparkly things. I am obscenely rich. This emperor really just had all that sitting in a vault while his people ate cabbage. Cool. Well, it's mine now. But here's the thing. Money doesn't fill your stomach in the moment, and my stomach was staging a full rebellion. So before heading back to my cozy jail cell, I made a quick detour to the Imperial kitchen. First, I ate. Because priorities. Then I looked around at all those premium ingredients, fresh meat, exotic spices, fancy rice, rare herbs, and thought, you know what? These are coming with me too. My pocket dimension keeps everything fresh forever, so I just took it all. Pots, pans, bowls, chopsticks, ladles, everything. If it wasn't bolted down, it went into the void. I would have taken the stove too, but it was built into the wall. The stove lives to cook another day. When I was done, the imperial kitchen was so empty you could hear your own echo in there. It looked like someone had moved out and taken the furniture. I heard footsteps coming, some night shift worker doing his rounds. This body is weak, so my invisibility power only lasts about 30 minutes. Gonna need to work on that. I hid just in time. The kitchen guy opened the door, saw the completely barren room, rubbed his eyes, rubbed them again, sat down on the floor, and started screaming. We've been robbed. The kitchen's been robbed. I wanted to stick around and watch the chaos, but time was ticking. I briefly considered hitting the grain warehouses too, but dawn was approaching. No worries, I'll come back for those later. That trash emperor isn't getting off easy. I portaled back to jail, locked my chains back up, tucked the lockpick away, and lay there looking like the world's most innocent prisoner. Meanwhile, back at the palace? Chaos. The kitchen staff reported the theft. The emperor, his name is Han Shao, by the way, because of course the guy who framed my in-laws shares their surname, got worried and ran to check on the treasury. Empty. Completely, beautifully, gloriously empty. I'm told he shook with rage. I wish I could have seen it. I would have paid money. My money, which used to be his money. He dragged in the head of the Imperial Guard, a guy named Chen, and basically said, "Find the thief in 7 days or your entire family dies." Classic tyrant move. Also, good luck finding me, buddy. Your thief walked through a portal. Check your security cameras. Oh wait, you don't have those. It's ancient China. Sucks to be you. The emperor also ordered a total information lockdown. Nobody was to know the treasury got robbed. Because nothing says strong leadership like pretending you weren't just cleaned out by a prisoner in chains. Come morning, the guards woke us up. And by woke us up, I mean they literally whipped people who didn't get up fast enough. Lovely alarm clock service. 0 stars on Yelp. They loaded us onto prison carts, no breakfast, of course. The guards, however, were casually munching on big fluffy steamed buns right in front of us. Just standing there, chewing happily, while a cart full of starving people watched. My youngest, little Qiling, tugged on her grandmother's sleeve. "Grandma, I'm hungry." And the thing is, when a 3-year-old says she's hungry, every adult in the cart suddenly remembers they're starving too. My mother-in-law pulled out that steamed bun she'd hidden in her sleeve last night, bless this woman, and told the kids to share it quietly. I pulled out a few buns I'd swiped from the imperial kitchen and passed them around. Mother-in-law refused to eat hers. I had to basically guilt-trip her into it. She broke hers in half and gave me the bigger piece. This woman, I swear. She treats me like her own daughter because she feels guilty about the whole drugged incense forced wedding night situation. Honestly, fair. The cart rolled out of the capital under a blazing sun. It was so hot that people were passing out left and right. The guards didn't care. Their job was delivery, not customer service. Dead or alive, they just needed bodies at the destination. And the road, the Imperial Highway, was basically a suggestion. Potholes the size of bathtubs. The cart bounced so hard I thought my teeth were going to rattle out. My 3 kids clung to me like baby koalas. These poor little ones had never experienced anything worse than a cold bath, and now they were in a wooden cage getting slow roasted by the sun on a road that hadn't been maintained since the last dynasty. 2 months of this. 2 months. By evening, we reached the first rest stop. The guards parked us outside the station like luggage, went inside to eat their nice warm meals, and eventually brought us porridge. I used that word generously. It was mostly water that had once been in the same room as rice. You could see through it. I've seen clear soups, but I've also seen thicker tap water. Everyone fought over it like animals. The adults shoved and grabbed, and my kids got pushed aside because they're tiny. My brother-in-law, Hanmoyu, he's 18, strong, and honestly the MVP of this exile trip, muscled his way through and grabbed food for the family. He brought me a steamed bun. Sister-in-law. Eat, sweet kid. But the bun was rock hard and smelled like it had been fermenting for 2 days. I took it so he'd stop worrying, pretended to eat it, then secretly tossed it into my pocket dimension for waste disposal. No way I was feeding that biohazard to the children. Honestly, this was still better than the zombie apocalypse. At least nobody here was trying to eat my brain. The head guard told us to sleep because tomorrow there'd be no more carts. Walking only. Early start. They chained us up to prevent escapes, and everyone passed out from exhaustion. No one got beheaded. No one died today. In the apocalypse, that counts as a win. As long as we're alive, there's hope. And as long as I have a pocket dimension full of stolen imperial gold and a kitchen's worth of fresh ingredients, well, we're going to be just fine. Day 2 of Exile. Same routine. Dragged out of sleep before dawn. No breakfast. Just vibes and suffering. We walked for 4 hours on empty stomachs. 4 hours. My daughter finally gave out and had to be carried on Hanwei's back. My 2 boys were struggling too, but they're from a military family, so they'd been training since they could walk. Tough little dudes. They'll make it. Probably. We reached a small town not far from the capital. Still pretty lively, shops, people, the whole deal. The head guard told us we had 1 hour to stop, and each family could send 1 person out to buy supplies. One small problem. We had 0 money. Everything was confiscated when we got arrested. We were literally penniless prisoners in chains. I stood up. I'll go. My mother-in-law grabbed my arm. Wanning, sweetie, you don't have any money. How are you going to buy anything? I have a plan, I said. Because I did. I had 150 million gold coins in my pocket dimension. I just couldn't exactly announce that. But then, this woman named Yun Jiang, my mother-in-law's aunt by marriage, opened her big, nasty mouth. What plan could SHE have, she sneered. She's just a woman. The only way she's getting money is by selling her body. Our Yun family girls would never stoop so low just for food. Excuse me? Excuse me? Now, my personal philosophy is, why waste words when you can use hands? I was about to slap the taste out of her mouth when my adoptive aunt, Luo Chun, beat me to the punch. Well, not literally a punch, but she rolled up her sleeves, marched over, and got right in Yun Jiang's face. You couldn't spit out anything decent if your life depended on it. My girl is wonderful. She's too kind to fight back against your garbage, but I'm not. Don't you dare talk about my niece like that. I love this woman. I want to frame that speech and hang it on my wall. Then my mother-in-law stepped up too. I call you Andy out of respect for my uncle. But talk about my daughter-in-law like that again, and I will yendi that courtesy. Yun Jiang, realizing she was outnumbered, ran crying to her husband. Husband, your niece is siding with outsiders against your own aunt. Her husband, bless him, was already done with her nonsense. Jiang, if you hadn't said something stupid, they wouldn't be yelling at you. This is your fault. Points to the uncle. He's not blind. He just married poorly. Yun Jiang shut up but couldn't resist one last passive-aggressive jab. Well, let's just see what she comes back with. I looked her dead in the eye. Whatever I bring back, you're not getting any. So off I went with a guard escort, shuffling through town in my prison uniform with iron chains on. Real subtle. People stared. Obviously. Poor thing. She's so young and pretty. What could she have done? Probably seduce someone's husband. You know the type. Look at that face. Yes, because clearly any woman in chains must be a homewrecker. Love the logic. Also, wait. Pretty? I hadn't actually seen what I looked like in this body yet. Good to know the original Wanning was attractive. Silver lining. Then some genius townspeople decided to throw rotten vegetables at me. Because apparently that's the national pastime in this country. Big mistake. I flicked silver needles at them with my mind, hit their pressure points without anyone seeing. Suddenly, every single person who threw something at me was howling in pain, clutching their arms. Don't throw stuff at her. Someone in the crowd warned. Everyone who does gets hurt. One guy didn't believe it. Threw a cabbage leaf. Immediately started screaming. People backed off real quick after that. This is cursed, they muttered. Cursed? Nah. Just me and my acupuncture needles. I recalled them telekinetically before anyone could find evidence. Clean operation. I stopped in front of a pawn shop. Officer, I'd like to go in and pawn something. The guard looked at me, prisoner outfit, chains, literally zero possessions visible, and his face said, "What could you possibly pawn?" But curiosity won, and he followed me inside. The shop owner saw the guard and nearly had a heart attack, thinking he was in trouble. The guard growled, "We're here to pawn something," and the poor man almost collapsed with relief. I opened my hand. A jade ring materialized. I'd quietly pulled it from my pocket dimension. Top-grade Hetian jade, beautifully crafted. "Where'd you get that?" the guard asked, suspicious.
I had my story ready.
"I found it on the road earlier. Remember when I tripped and fell?" "That's what I was picking up," he thought back. I had deliberately tripped earlier specifically to set up this alibi. Playing the long game, baby.
Huh.
"Lucky," he said and dropped it. The shopkeeper examined the ring. "Nice quality. I'll give you 300 taels of silver." 300? I spent 600 taels worth of gold coins to create that ring in my dimension. This guy was trying to rob me. The audacity. "Sir, I just robbed an emperor. You think you can hustle me?" "I grew up wealthy," I said coolly. "I know Hetian jade. This ring retails for about 1,200 taels. 300 is insulting." His eyes widened. He bumped it to 600. 700. "It's a dead pawn. I'm not coming back for it, and you know it." He did the math in his head, realized he'd still make a fat profit, and agreed. 700 taels. I took 50 taels in loose silver for immediate spending, and the rest in banknotes, which I secretly slipped into my pocket dimension when the guard wasn't looking. Outside the shop, I peeled off a 100-tael note and handed it to the guard. "For your trouble, buy yourself some wine. And maybe, keep this between us." His eyes lit up like a kid on New Year's. "Say no more." That note vanished into his shirt faster than my needles vanish into pressure points. 100 taels.
Gone. Just like that.
It hurt. It physically hurt me. But bribing the escort guard was cheaper than dealing with questions later. Time to go shopping. After my little pawn shop hustle, I went full shopping spree mode. I bought out an entire street vendor's supply of steamed buns. Every single
one.
White flour buns cost 5 coins each, which is highway robbery for bread, but beggars, or rather, exile prisoners, can't be choosers. I couldn't buy too many though because the guard was watching and I couldn't exactly yeet 50 pounds of food into my invisible pocket dimension right in front of him. So, I kept it reasonable. I also grabbed beef jerky, which tasted like chewing a shoe compared to the stuff I can conjure from my space, but it's portable and it won't kill anyone. Progress. Then, and this was the mom in me talking, I bought blankets. It's summer, sure, but kids get cold at night, and if my babies catch a fever out here with zero medical care, we're in serious trouble. Tummy blankets.
Non negotiable.
The guard was impressed, actually. Not by my shopping list, but by the fact that I carried all of it myself. "This body looks dainty, but I've got zombie apocalypse muscle memory." He was like, "Huh. She doesn't move like a pampered noblewoman." Yeah, buddy, because I wasn't one. I was a soldier. I've carried heavier things than groceries. Like, the emotional weight of being murdered by my best friend. Meanwhile, back at the jail, Yun Jiang, that woman had been running her mouth the entire time I was gone. She's been gone so long. She's probably servicing the guard right now. That's how she's getting food. Our Yun family girls would never. My mother-in-law and Aunt Luo Chin defended me. My 3 kids, who are 5 years old, understood what Yun Jiang was implying and banded together like a tiny angry army. Our mama is not like that. Did that stop Yun Jiang? Of course not. She looked at my children, my babies, and said, "You're too young to understand. When you grow up and find out your mother traded her body for food, you'll be ashamed of her too." She said that. To 5-year-olds. About their mother. I walked in right as she finished that sentence. My kids tried to run to me, but couldn't because of their chains. Their little faces lit up and then crumpled because they couldn't reach me. That image alone was enough to make me want to commit violence. I saw my mother-in-law's expression. I saw Aunt Chen's expression. I knew exactly what Yun Jiang had been saying. She spotted my bags and couldn't help herself. Oh wow. Quite the haul. Must have worked really hard for all that. No wonder it took so long. She did not finish that sentence. Because my hand connected with her face at approximately the speed of sound.
Slap.
The crack echoed off the walls. Beautiful acoustics in this jail, actually. If you can't say anything useful, I said, nobody's going to miss you being quiet. The whole room went silent. Every single person just
Froze.
Apparently, the original Wanning was a doormat who never fought back, so everyone was looking at me like I'd grown a second head. My mother-in-law, stunned.
Aunt Chun, stunned.
Random prisoners, stunned. But you know what? Nobody looked unhappy about it. Even the people who thought a junior hitting an elder was disrespectful were thinking, yeah, but she had it coming. My uncle Luo Wanning straight up said, my niece didn't hit the wrong person. If she hadn't done it, I would have. I love this family. Yunjiang, clutching her face with tears streaming, ran to her husband. Husband. She hit me. Your niece's daughter-in-law hit me. Uncle Yunda was so done. But he still felt obligated to say something about respecting elders, so he half-heartedly told me to apologize. Before that could go anywhere, the head guard stomped over. Enough. Your person bought food. Eat it and shut up. We need to move. I unpacked the buns, and the whole room looked at me like I was holding bars of gold. Which, technically, I also had, but that's beside the point. My little girl, Chi Ling, took her bun, and instead of biting into it, she turned around and offered it to her grandmother first. Grandma, you eat first. This child, 5 years old, starving, holding a fluffy steamed bun, and her first instinct is to give it to Grandma. I'm not crying. My eyes are just sweating. I gave Hanmayu 2 buns because that kid is 18, doing the work of 3 men and getting thinner by the day. He's the only adult male left in our household, and if he collapses, we're all in trouble. Now, the distribution. Our group is big. Han family has 6 people, Luo family has 24, Yun family has 30. I'd bought enough for 1 bun each. For the Yun family, I handed the buns to my mother-in-law to distribute. Everyone can have 1, I announced. Except Yun Jiang. She gets nothing. Yun Jiang puffed up like a poisonous toad. I wouldn't eat your dirty food if I was dying. I'd get a stomachache. Children, you're not eating either. Her kids looked at the buns. Looked at their mother. Looked at the buns again. Put them down with the saddest expressions I've ever seen. Those poor children didn't choose their mother. Who said I traded my body? I pulled out the pawn receipt. I found a jade ring on the road and pawned it. It's all on paper. Read it. I'd been smart about this. I had the shopkeeper write the receipt for 50 taels instead of 700. No need for everyone to know the real number. Yun Jiang still wouldn't quit. The guard probably got you that receipt as a favor because he thinks you're pretty. The guard himself heard that and exploded. I love my wife. I watched her pawn that ring with my own eyes. Don't you dare drag me into your disgusting accusations. Amazing what 100-tael bribe buys you. A personal character witness and genuine indignation. Worth every coin. Yun Jiang finally shut up. Even she knew that insulting an armed guard was a fast track to a whipping. Mother-in-law, being the class act she is, still offered Uncle Yunda a bun out of respect. He refused it because his pride was bruised from the whole fiasco.
Fine.
More for us. Everyone else carefully rationed their buns. Knowing this was a one-time miracle. The family heads collected the extras and divvied them up to stretch across multiple days. My oldest son, Chi Yi, looked up at me with his serious little face. Mama, should we save some too? So we don't go hungry later. I pinched his bony cheek. You eat as much as you want. As long as Mama's here, you won't starve. I meant it. I had a pocket dimension full of imperial groceries and 150 million gold coins. These kids were going to be fine. Later, my mother-in-law pulled me aside and whispered, "That jade ring. It wasn't really worth just 50 taels, was it? Smart woman. Nothing gets past her." So my mother-in-law asked me about the jade ring money. Sharp woman. She noticed the math didn't add up with 50 taels and a bag full of groceries. I leaned in and whispered the truth. 700 taels, minus 100 for the guard bribe. I offered to let her manage the money since she's technically the head of the family. She refused immediately. You found it, you keep it. I respect this woman more every day. Most mothers-in-law in these ancient settings would snatch that silver faster than I snatched the imperial treasury. But not mine. She's got principles. I hit the mother-in-law jackpot. Meanwhile, Yunjong's family was sitting there watching everyone else eat buns, and her daughter was not having it. I'm so hungry. This is your fault, Mom. If you'd kept your mouth shut, we'd be eating too. Yunjong's face went through about 7 stages of regret. She turned away from the bun-eating crowd and tried to convince herself that if she couldn't see food, she wouldn't feel hungry. Spoiler. That doesn't work. We hit the road again. Hanmayu clutched our food bundle against his chest like it was a newborn baby. He wasn't letting anyone near it. Yunjiang had been eyeing it. I could practically see her scheming, but one look at Moyu's death grip and she backed off. Smart choice. That kid may be 18, but he'd fight a bear for those buns. The townspeople, as usual, threw garbage at us from their windows as we passed. Rotten cabbage, eggs, the works. My mother-in-law. And I shielded the kids. 3 5-year-olds don't need to be pelted with produce on top of everything else. The sun was brutal. Late summer, drought season, 0 shade on the road. The guards at least had hats. We had nothing. Everyone was drenched in sweat, lips cracking, tongues dry. The guards could drink water whenever they wanted. The prisoners? Tough luck. I'd bought 6 water pouches in town. Kept 2 for our family, gave 2 to the Luo family, and because my mother-in-law would have wanted me to, gave 2 to the Yin family. Yes, even after everything. I'm petty, but I'm not. Let people die of dehydration. Petty. That's a different tier. I'd been sneaking mineral water from my pocket dimension into the pouches when nobody was looking, but I couldn't do it too often or people would start wondering why my water supply was infinite. 6 small pouches for 60-plus people doesn't go far in this heat. After what felt like 1,000 years of walking, one of the guards approached the head guard. Boss, the next station is still 6 hours away. Can we take a break? The head guard looked at everyone's sweat-drenched, half-dead faces and graciously granted us 15 minutes.
Wow.
Generous. They herded us under some trees. It was still hot, but at least the sun wasn't actively trying to cook us anymore. Everything around us was brown and wilted. Late summer drought had turned the landscape into kindling. Only the plants directly under the trees looked alive, sucking up whatever moisture the roots had stored. Then people started dropping. First, a guard collapsed. Then 2 more guards. Then 5 prisoners went down. Several others started vomiting.
Heat stroke.
Classic, predictable, and deadly without treatment. Our family was fine. We had water. But 3 of the fallen were from the Yun family, young people who'd clearly never exercised a day in their lives, and 2 were from the Luo family, my 4th uncle and a little boy, my cousin-in-law's son. His mother, Lin, grabbed her unconscious child and started wailing.
Xiaobao.
Wake up. Please wake up. Don't scare Mama. Heart-wrenching. Genuinely. But then she turned and pointed her grief at us. If Sister Wanning had never married into the Han family, our Luo family wouldn't be suffering like this. My mother-in-law flinched. I saw her bite her lip and clench her fists. The guilt was eating her alive. These people lost everything because of a connection to her family. Mom, I said quietly. She's scared and lashing out. Don't take it to heart. Mother-in-law nodded, but she still sighed. It is our fault they're here. I didn't push it. What could I say? She wasn't wrong about the connection, even if the real blame belonged to whoever framed the Han family. The head guard's men were panicking. Boss, what do we do? The head guard was not a doctor. We were in the middle of nowhere, no village, no clinic, no help for hours in any direction. The unconscious people might not survive the walk to the next station. So I stood up. I can save them. The silence that followed was deafening. My mother-in-law's head whipped toward me so fast I thought she'd get whiplash. She'd lived with the original Wanning for 6 years. She knew Wanning didn't know medicine. Here's the thing. I'd been thinking about this. The Exile road is dangerous, and making friends with the guards would make our lives significantly easier. I'd considered just grabbing my kids and portaling out of here, but I couldn't do that. Mother-in-law refuses to run. She believes her husband and my so-called husband are still alive and will clear the family's name someday. She wants to wait in the north for them. Running would mean living as fugitives forever. And honestly, the north might not be so bad. With my pocket dimension and powers, I can keep everyone fed and sheltered. Might as well build some goodwill with the guards along the way. The head guard looked at me. You can really save them. Yes, no hesitation. I've treated worse than heatstroke. I once performed field surgery during a zombie siege. This is a Tuesday. He was about to let me try when, guess who opened her mouth? Yun Jiang. Of course. Obviously. This woman has the survival instincts of a lemming. Officer, she's been married to the Han family for 6 years. As her relative, I can assure you she knows nothing about medicine. The head guard hesitated. And I could feel my chance slipping away because of this woman who I had slapped less than 2 hours ago and who is now actively trying to sabotage me out of spite.
Fine.
If nobody trusts me, I'll prove it. I walked over to Lin, the crying mother. Let me treat your son. She hugged the boy tighter and shook her head. She didn't trust me either. I sighed. Being the family outcast is really inconvenient when you're trying to save lives. All right then, I said, looking around at the other collapsed people. Does anyone here want to not die today? Because I'm offering free healthcare and the line is currently empty. Nobody moved. Nobody volunteered. They all believed Yun Jiang that I was some clueless housewife playing pretend doctor. 60 people standing around watching other people die of heatstroke because one woman with a grudge said I couldn't help. Then my Aunt Chin stepped forward. Her husband, my adoptive uncle, was in bad shape. Not unconscious yet, but getting there. She looked at him, looked at me, and made her choice. Wanning, I believe you. Treat your uncle. My heart did a little warm thing. This woman raised me. She knows me. She knows I don't bluff. Yun Jiang laughed. Actually laughed. Well, someone's brave enough to gamble with her husband's life. I gave her a look. Not a regular look. The kind of look that says, I have killed zombies with my bare hands and you are significantly less scary than a zombie. She actually flinched.
Good.
Aunt Chin shut her down. This is Luo family business. You're an outsider. Zip it. Fine. When he dies, it's not my problem. Aunt Chin didn't waste another second on her. Neither did I. Moyu, hand me the water pouch and a cloth from the bundle. Han Moyu jumped to it immediately. While he was opening the bundle, Yun Jiang spotted the buns inside, and I swear I saw her pupils dilate like a cat seeing a laser pointer. She was absolutely planning to snatch one while everyone was distracted. Too bad Moyu has the situational awareness of a hawk. He handed the bundle to mother-in-law before Yun Jiang's grubby fingers got anywhere near it. Her face fell so fast it almost made a sound. I wet the cloth. Auntie, open Uncle's shirt and wipe him down to cool him off. The other women politely looked away, propriety and all that. This is ancient China. A man's bare chest is practically scandalous. Then I asked the head guard for some extra water. He gave it without asking questions. Progress, he was starting to take me seriously. Can you also unlock my chains? Hard to do medicine in handcuffs. I promise I won't run. He looked around at 30-something armed guards surrounding us. Yeah, where exactly would I go? He unlocked them. Freedom. Well, temporary medical procedure freedom. Close enough. I ran to a nearby tree and grabbed a handful of agastache leaves. Huixiang, the stuff they use to make heatstroke medicine. Good for the performance. See, I needed everyone to think I was making medicine the old-fashioned way. I crushed the leaves in front of everyone, squeezed the juice into the water pouch. Big show, very dramatic, look at me being a traditional herbalist. Then, while nobody was paying attention, I swapped the water inside for actual heatstroke medicine from my pocket dimension, plus a few drops of spiritual spring water. The real stuff. The agastache leaf show was just theater. The spiritual spring water is the secret weapon. It doesn't just fix heatstroke, it restores energy and strengthens the body. I carefully measured the dosage, because I'm not an amateur, despite what some people think. Glares in Yun Jiang's direction after my aunt wiped down my uncle, I gave him a small cup of my herbal water. The smell was terrible, heatstroke medicine always is, but he drank it. 30 seconds later, I actually feel a lot better. The look on Yun Jiang's face. I wish I had a camera. I wish cameras existed. She looked like she'd swallowed a live frog. But did she admit she was wrong? Of course not. Probably just a lucky coincidence, she muttered. Lin, the crying mother who'd refused to let me treat her son 5 minutes ago, suddenly sprinted over carrying little Xiaobao. Sister Wanning, please save my baby. Funny how fast "I don't trust you" turns into "please help" when the medicine actually works. I had her lay the boy down and pressed a few acupuncture points. His eyes fluttered open. Lin burst into tears of relief. I gave him a child-sized dose of the medicine. He'll be fine soon. The head guard watched the whole thing. A prisoner just woke up an unconscious child with her bare hands. His skepticism evaporated. Get over here and look at my men. I hurried over and treated the 3 collapsed guards the same way. Medicine, pressure points, wake up, done. They all reported feeling better within minutes. My mother-in-law watched me work from a distance, and I could see the wheels turning in her head. She'd lived with the original Wanning for 6 years. She knew that girl couldn't tell a medicinal herb from a weed. Something had changed, and she wanted answers. When I got back, she pulled me aside. Wanning, when did you learn medicine? I had my cover story locked and loaded. Oh, I used to read medical books in my spare time back home. I noticed these symptoms matched what I'd read about, so I figured I'd try. Honestly, I'm as surprised as you are that it worked. She stared at me. You are terrifyingly bold. I figured if I helped the guards, they might treat us better on the road north. Strategic kindness, you know? She accepted that.
For now.
But I could tell she was filing this away for future interrogation. But you, bless his simple heart, just grinned. Sister-in-law, you're amazing, yeah, kid. I know. The water situation was now critical. I'd used most of it for treatment. The head guard knew we couldn't make it to the next station, so he sent 2 scouts ahead to find water. Our 15-minute break turned into over 2 hours. On the bright side, it wasn't as scorching anymore, and the heatstroke patients were recovering. The scouts came back with good news. A river not far away. We could camp there for the night. It took about 2 hours to get everyone there, slow going with 60-plus people, many still wobbly. But we made it. The river was low because of the drought, but it had water. The guards just scooped it up and drank straight from the stream. No filter, no boiling. These guys would not survive the zombie apocalypse. I filled our water pouches from the river for appearances, then secretly swapped the contents with clean water from my dimension, adding a splash of spiritual spring water. Building up the family's strength quietly, one sip at a time. The guards started cooking dinner. For themselves. The prisoners would get whatever was left over, whenever they felt like sharing. As usual. But we had buns, so we didn't need to wait. Other families had rationed their shares from earlier and nibbled on those. And Yunjiang? She nudged her husband. Go ask your niece for food. You're her uncle. She can't say no. Uncle Yunda looked at her with the exhaustion of a man who has heard too many of his wife's terrible ideas bear terrible fruit. I am not asking. We have no food because of your mouth. This is your fault. Yunjiang sat there, stomach growling, pride bruised, face still stinging from my slap, watching everyone else eat. Sometimes karma doesn't wait for the next life. Sometimes it shows up the same afternoon. So Yunjiang's great-grandson, little Yongxi, came wandering over to our side with the biggest puppy dog eyes I've ever seen on a human child. Just standing there, watching us eat, radiating hunger like a tiny, sad furnace. My mother-in-law looked at me. Wanning, can we give him something? Look, I'm petty. I'm not petty enough to starve a small child over his great-grandmother being the worst person alive. Sure. I handed him a bun. This kid didn't eat it right away, though. He glanced back at his mom first. He wanted to share. Sweet kid. Terrible family. But I know Yunjiang. If that bun goes over there, she's eating it. Not the kid's mom. Not anyone who deserves it. The human vacuum cleaner herself. Eat it here, I told him. Finish it before you go back. Smart kid. He understood immediately. He attacked that bun like a wolf on a stake. My mother-in-law said, slow down, nobody's taking it from you. But he was in the zone. Full focus. Championship-level bun consumption. Yunjiang watched from across the camp, fuming. That ungrateful little brat. Doesn't even bring his great-grandmother a bite. Ma'am.
Mum.
You told your entire family they couldn't eat my food because it was dirty. Now you're mad a 5-year-old didn't save you some?
Pick a lane.
After the first bun, Yongsi just stood there, staring at my son's bun, still hungry. One bun doesn't fill a kid who hasn't eaten in 2 days. Mother-in-law looked at me again. I gave him another one. This time, he ate slower, suspiciously slower. I noticed he was sneaking pieces into his sleeve to take back to his actual mom. Not to Yunjiang, to his Emma. I pretended not to see. Kids got loyalty. I respect that. He went back to his family, and immediately Yunjiang started screeching at him. You ate 2 buns and didn't bring me anything? How dare you? I raised this family, and this is how you repay me. The child literally shrank into his mother's arms like a scared quail. His mom held him but didn't talk back because, of course, talking back to an elder is disrespectful in this world, even when the elder is a raging narcissist. Yunjiang bullies everyone in her family using the respect your elders card like it's a platinum credit card with no limit. And they all just
take it.
Not my circus. Not my monkeys. But I filed that away. The guards finished cooking their porridge and called the prisoners to line up. Yunjiang's family practically sprinted to the front. Everyone else had eaten buns, so nobody was in a rush. Except the family whose matriarch had declared a hunger strike out of spite and then immediately regretted it. Our family didn't bother with the porridge at all. We had real food. What we didn't have was hygiene. I caught a whiff of my kids and almost activated my combat reflexes out of instinct. These children hadn't bathed since before the arrest. They smelled like a gym bag left in a hot car. I went to the head guard. Can I take my kids to the river to wash up? You can unlock their chains, they're 5. They're not exactly flight risks. Normally he'd say no, but I'd saved his men's lives today.
Fine.
You earned it. Score. The chains came off. The kids were so excited they practically bounced to the river. While I was at it, a thought occurred to me. Treating heatstroke had cost me 10 gold coins for the medicine from my dimension. Not cheap. And then I remembered, when I raided the palace, I hit the treasury and the kitchen, but I completely forgot the imperial pharmacy. A slow, beautiful grin spread across my face. Next stop, rob the emperor's medicine cabinet. That man is going to wake up one morning with nothing left but the walls and his bad decisions. After the kids were clean and fresh, my mother-in-law, ever the disciplinarian, announced it was study time. Just because we're exiles doesn't mean you skip your lessons. Repeat after me. No books? No problem. She recited from memory, and the kids echoed her. Oral tradition education, exile style. Guess who had a problem with this?
Go on. Guess.
Why bother with books? Yunjiang sneered. We're exiled. The emperor banned our families from government service. They can't take the civil exams. Reading is pointless. The kids stopped, unsure. I looked at my children. Don't listen to her. Reading isn't just about passing exams and getting government jobs. It teaches you to think, to understand the world, to know right from wrong. That is why you study. They went right back to reciting. Mother-in-law smiled proudly. Then I turned to Yunjiang with a look cold enough to freeze the river behind us. Seems like I didn't hit you hard enough this morning. You've already forgotten. She slapped her hand over her still swollen cheek. Yeah, that's right. It still hurts, doesn't it? I may be in a weak body, but I swing with the fury of a woman who was once murdered by her best friend and eaten by zombies. That kind of rage adds horsepower. She went quiet. Actually quiet. For the first time since I'd met her, Yunjiang kept her thoughts inside her head, where they belonged. I could see her cursing me internally probably 100 times over, but not one word came out. Blessed silence. Night fell. First time the kids had to sleep outdoors.
They're 5.
They were scared. My daughter burrowed into my arms like a little mole. My boys wanted to do the same. I could see it in their eyes, but they held back. Grandma had told them they were little men, and that their father could sleep alone at their age. 5-year-olds performing masculinity in a forest while exiled for treason. This world is something else. Moyu volunteered for night watch. I told him to sleep instead. I'll take watch. I'm a night owl anyway, he argued. I stared.
He caved.
If anything happens, wake me up. Sure thing, kid. He was out cold in 30 seconds. Exhaustion is undefeated. So there I sat in the dark, keeping watch, the only sounds being crickets and my daughter's soft breathing against my chest. Across the camp, the only other person awake was a concubine from the Yun family, some young woman who'd recently married into the household expecting a cushy life of luxury. Instead, she got arrested, exiled, and now assigned permanent night watch duty because the Yun family decided she was the lowest-ranking member and, therefore, the designated sufferer. She'd tried to protest. They screamed at her until she stopped. I watched her sitting alone in the dark, stewing in resentment, and thought, yeah, that's fair. Being the lowest on the totem pole in this family, I'd be angry too. But that was Yun family drama. I had my own problems, like planning my next heist on the Imperial Palace. The Emperor's pharmacy wasn't going to rob itself. I sat there on night watch looking up at the sky and, honestly, it was breathtaking. A perfect moon, stars everywhere, like someone had spilled glitter across black velvet. In my previous life, the zombie apocalypse won. The moon was permanently blood red, and the sky looked like it was angry at everyone. You couldn't enjoy a night sky when undead were trying to eat your face. But here, pure, untouched, ancient starlight. No light pollution.
No zombie hordes.
Just me, some crickets, and the soft breathing of sleeping prisoners. Being alive is nice. I should do this more often. The night was quiet. 10 guards on rotation, me, and a few other night watchers, including Su Xiaolan, the Yun family's concubine who got stuck with the graveyard shift because she's the lowest-ranking person in their household. Quick backstory on Xiaolan. She'd recently become the honored concubine of some Yun family grandson named Yun Yushan. She thought she'd hit the jackpot. Fancy clothes, good food, cushy life. Then the arrest happened. Now she's an exiled prisoner on night watch duty because Yun Jiang decided that concubines are basically servants and should suffer accordingly. When they told her to take the night shift, she tried the pouty girlfriend move on her husband. Darling, you'd really make me stay up all night. Didn't work. In this family, Yun Jiang's word is law. Yushan just shrugged. So Xiaolan sat there stewing in resentment. Around midnight, the guards pulled out their food and started eating in shifts. Xiaolan watched them chew their buns, and something in her brain went click. She stood up and walked over to the guards. Officer, I need to use the bathroom. The squad leader took her to a grove of trees nearby for privacy, as per protocol. They went in together. They came back a while later. Xiaolan's face was flushed. The squad leader was grinning like he'd won a prize.
Look.
I was single in my previous life. Died single, actually. But I'm not an idiot. I know what happened in those trees, and so did every other person who was awake. Nobody said a word. Xiaolan got some buns and jerky in exchange. She sat down and started eating. And that is when the midnight show began. Yun Jiang, who had apparently been lying awake, kept up by her own empty stomach, smelled food. Her eyes snapped open and locked onto Xiaolan like a heat-seeking missile. You little tramp, you've been hiding food from us. Xiaolan, for once in her life, was not in the mood. She'd just degraded herself for a couple of buns, and now this old bat was screaming at her? She snapped back. They started fighting. Physically. Clawing, grabbing, rolling around in the dirt. Yun Jiang is old and brittle, so she lasted about 4 seconds before Xiaolan had her pinned. Naturally, she did what she does best. Screamed for backup. Help! This harlot is attacking her elder. She's hitting a senior. Somebody. Everyone woke up. Groggy, confused, irritated. What is happening? It's the middle of the night. Shut up. Some of us are trying to sleep. My kids, bless them, slept through the entire thing like champions. Professional sleepers. Olympic level. Not a single eyelid flutter. My mother-in-law and Moyu sat up, bleary-eyed. Mother-in-law took one look at the situation and sighed the sigh of a woman who has been related to these people for too long. Yun Jiang turned to Yushan. Control your concubine. She's hiding food and she hit me. Yushan looked at the half-eaten bun on the ground. Where did you get food? Xiaolan went silent. Because what was she going to say? I traded sexual favors with the night guard for bread. Yunjiang, delighted to have ammunition, filled in the blanks for everyone. She obviously did something disgusting to get it. Look at her face. She's a disgrace to our family. A stain on the Yun name. Yushan's face darkened as the implications sank in. Veins popped on his forehead. You're no longer my concubine, he said coldly. I bought you. From now on, you're a servant. Kneel until dawn. And just like that, Xiaolan went from concubine to servant in 60 seconds. No trial. No defense. In this world, a concubine has basically zero rights. If the husband says you're done, you're done. I watched all of this and thought, the audacity of Yunjiang. She shamed me all day for supposedly trading my body for food. Called me every name in the book. Wouldn't eat my buns because they were dirty. And now when someone in her family actually does the things she accused me of, she's the one screaming the loudest about family honor. The hypocrisy was so thick you could spread it on toast. Everyone else figured out what happened too. But it was Yun family drama, so we all just watched like it was dinner theater. Except without the dinner. Moyu, sweet, innocent Moyu, turned to me with genuine confusion. Sister-in-law, what happened? What did she do? I looked at his pure, clueless face and almost laughed. Mother-in-law cut in. You don't need to know. It's nothing respectable. Oh, he said, scratching his head and lay back down. Protect this boy at all costs. The head guard had heard enough. Show's over. Go to sleep. We leave at dawn. Everyone settled down. I noticed Yunjiang eyeing the half-eaten bun still lying on the ground. She wanted it so bad. But she'd literally just announced in front of everyone that she'd never eat food obtained that way. The internal struggle on her face was the most entertaining thing I'd seen all week. Better than any drama I'd watched in the 23rd century. She didn't pick it up. Pride won over hunger. Barely. Moyu took over the watch after a couple hours, and I finally slept. At dawn, the guards doled out the usual water pretending to be porridge. I had Moyu keep enough food for our family, then distributed the rest to the Luo and Yun families. Everyone except Yunjiang's branch. They sat there watching people eat beef jerky, drool literally forming at the corners of their mouths. Yunjiang did this to them. Her kids and grandkids were starving because she couldn't keep her mouth shut for 5 consecutive minutes. And the worst part? They all knew it. They were too scared of her to say it, but they knew. We marched on. Morning was cooler. Thank goodness. We'd been 2 stations behind schedule thanks to yesterday's heatstroke detour, and we arrived at the next station just past noon. The head guard told us we'd stay the night and leave at dawn again. Then he offered to send guards out to buy supplies for anyone who had money. Nobody else had money. Just me. I gave a guard some silver and asked him to buy us a cooking pot and some ingredients.
A pot.
Our own pot. No more waiting for guard leftovers. No more see-through porridge. With a pot, I could cook real food from my pocket dimension whenever we camped outdoors. Game changer. The guards were noticeably nicer to me now. Saving their brothers from heatstroke had earned me social credit that no amount of bribery could buy. They knew the road ahead was long and dangerous, and having a doctor in the prisoner group was convenient. I was building alliances, collecting favors, playing the long game, and tonight, when everyone's asleep, I've got a date with the Imperial Pharmacy. That Emperor's medicine collection is about to have a very bad evening. They put us in a stable, a horse stable, and not like a charming countryside barn with fresh hay and cute ponies.
No.
This was a recently evacuated, fully marinated in horse feces nightmare. The smell hit us before we even walked through the door. It was like getting slapped in the face by a manure golem. It's so disgusting in here. There's horse poop everywhere. Officer, please, can we go somewhere else? The guard's response was basically, you're prisoners. You sleep where we put you. Shut up. Fair point, I guess. But also war crimes. Then right on cue, people started blaming the Han family again. If the Hans hadn't committed treason, we wouldn't be sleeping in horse dung. Why did they have to rebel? Blah, blah, blah. My mother-in-law just stood there absorbing it, looking like someone slowly deflating from the inside. I'd had enough. I turned around and let them have it. You want to blame the Han family? Really? When the Hans were powerful, you couldn't wait to attach yourselves to us. You used the connection for money, status, favors, everything. Now that we've fallen, suddenly you're victims? If the Han family was so terrible, why did you spend years climbing over each other to be associated with us? Dead. Silence. Nobody had a comeback because there was no comeback. They all knew they'd been leeches. Every single one of them had benefited from the Han family name, and now they were biting the hand that once fed them. I felt great after that. Sometimes you just need to verbally destroy a crowd of ingrates to improve your mood. Now, I was not sleeping in a horse stable. I had silver. Silver solves problems. I slipped 10 taels to a guard. He understood immediately. Bring your people. I gathered the Han family, mother-in-law, Moyu, my 3 kids, and my uncle's family of 5. 11 people. Out of the manure palace. This is where things got messy. And not because of horse poop. My 3rd uncle saw me leaving with only Uncle Luo's family and lost it. Wanning. This is outrageous. We're your uncles too. Why are you only taking him? My 4th uncle chimed in with the same energy. And Yunjiang, who should have been minding her own family's dumpster fire, couldn't resist stirring the pot. Obviously, she doesn't consider you real family anymore. She only cares about the eldest branch. She was trying to start an internal Luo family war for entertainment. And it was working. My uncle Luo Wanhao, being the noble idiot he is, immediately offered to stay behind. Wanning will stay. I don't want to cause problems between me and my brothers. His brother's response to this selfless gesture? Save the fake generosity, big brother. The disrespect. This man raised me when nobody else would, and his own brothers were spitting on him. I snapped. Let me explain something to you both. When my parents died, I was 6. Grandpa called all 3 of you in and asked who would take me. You 2 couldn't refuse fast enough. You acted like I was radioactive waste. Every time I came to your houses, you hid your food and called me a money-losing burden. Uncle Luo took me in when his own family was struggling. He raised me like his daughter, fed me the same food as his own kids, and never once made me feel like I was unwanted. The food I've been sharing with you, that was out of respect for him, not for you. And after what you just said to him, you're cut off. Figure out your own meals. I'm done. Their faces went through approximately 19 shades of ugly. They couldn't argue because every word I said was documented historical fact. The original Wanning's memories don't lie. Uncle Luo changed his mind and came with us.
Good.
Let the ungrateful brothers marinate in horse poop. It suits them. 3rd uncle's wife immediately panicked. Husband, she won't really stop helping us, right? I don't need her help, he snapped. Sure, buddy. Let's revisit that in 3 days when you're eating dirt. Yunjiang, meanwhile, was absolutely thrilled. Misery loves company, and now she wasn't the only one on my blacklist. She practically glowed with schadenfreude. The guard led us to a room that was, by Exile standards, luxurious. It had walls, and a door, and windows, and dry straw on the floor instead of fresh horse manure. 5 stars. Would recommend. Uncle Luo was silent, still hurt by his brothers. Aunt Chen let him be. She knew he needed time to process being called a fake by the people he'd spent his whole life protecting. Everyone rested. Mother-in-law made little straw beds for the kids. My cousin's daughter joined our afternoon study session with Grandma, which was adorable. By evening, the pot and ingredients I'd ordered arrived. I handed everything to mother-in-law for dinner prep. Having our own cooking setup was a revelation. No more guard porridge. No more waiting for scraps.
We were practically independent now.
Night fell. Guards did their head count. Posted sentries outside. Everyone went to sleep. Everyone except me. I hit them all with the sleep acupuncture needles. Gentle, painless, guaranteed 8 hours of uninterrupted unconsciousness. Then I opened my portal. Destination: the Imperial Pharmacy. Last time I took the Treasury and the kitchen. This time, every herb, every tincture, every rare medicinal ingredient in the Emperor's personal medical facility was about to relocate to my pocket dimension. That heatstroke situation cost me 10 gold coins in medicine I had to generate myself. Never again. Why create medicine when I can steal an entire pharmacy from the man who exiled my family? I stepped through the portal with a smile on my face. Round 3. Let's see what the Emperor's got left for me to take. My little fox spirit has a complete map of the Imperial Palace memorized. So when I portaled into the Imperial Pharmacy, I knew exactly where everything was. Invisibility on. Let's shop. The pharmacy was incredible. Wall-to-wall shelves of medicinal herbs, rare ingredients, century-old ginseng, exotic compounds, the works. The Emperor's personal healthcare collection, curated over generations. I vacuumed the entire place into my pocket dimension. Every leaf, every root, every pill. My space automatically sorted and categorized everything as it came in, because even my interdimensional storage has better organization than most people's kitchens. Took me maybe 10 minutes.
Clean sweep.
Not a single herb left. Then I thought, hey, it's been 2 days since I cleaned out the treasury. Maybe they've restocked? I popped over to check.
Oh.
They had tried. The security was insane now. Guards 3 layers deep outside, patrols everywhere. After my last visit, they were taking 0 chances. But here's the genius part. They only guarded the outside. No guards inside the vault itself, because they were afraid their own soldiers would be tempted by the gold. So the room was still completely unprotected from someone who could, say, teleport directly inside.
Me.
I'm talking about me. And they had restocked. The Emperor's concubines had donated their personal dowries to refill the treasury. That's how desperate things were. Plus, he'd confiscated some corrupt officials' wealth. Not as much as last time, but still a solid haul. Into the void it went. Another 50 million gold coins. Thank you, ladies. Sorry about your dowries. Actually, no, I'm not. Next up, the Imperial Kitchen. Again. They'd tripled the night watch this time. 3 eunuchs standing guard.
Goo.
I used telekinesis to yank every ingredient out of the room while they watched. Food just vanished. Right in front of their eyes.
Poof. Gone.
One of them screamed, "Ghost," and the other 2 fainted on the spot. I left the pots this time. I'm not a monster. Just a thief. A really, really good thief. Now, normally I would have gone home at this point. Treasury cleaned, pharmacy emptied, kitchen stripped. A productive evening. But I stood there thinking, I came all this way. It feels wrong to leave without doing something personal. An idea bloomed in my brain like a beautiful, petty flower. I portaled to the Emperor's study. There he was, Emperor Han Shao, the man who sentenced my family to death, then graciously downgraded it to slow death by exile. He was sitting at his desk actually working on government papers. Almost respectable. Almost. I knocked him out with a pressure point. His attendant eunuch too. Lights out. Then I picked up his own calligraphy brush, dipped it in his own ink, and drew a turtle on his face. A big one, right across both cheeks. Then I added a magnificent handlebar mustache. And for the finishing touch, I wrote the characters for turtle egg, which, in case you're wondering, is basically calling someone a cuckold in ancient Chinese. I stepped back and admired my work. Picasso could never. But wait. I wasn't done. One more idea. The best idea. I found his underwear. His imperial, dragon-embroidered, silk underpants. I took them to the main palace gate and hung them up like a flag. The imperial underwear, flapping majestically in the morning breeze, for all the palace staff to see.
Chef Esquisse.
I portaled back to the station, crawled into my straw bed, and fell asleep with the biggest smile of my entire life. Both lives, actually. Dawn came. The guards woke everyone up. The people who'd slept in the horse stable looked like the living dead. Mosquitoes had eaten them alive all night, and every breath was a mouthful of manure fumes. Our group, meanwhile, had slept like babies in our walled room with actual straw beds. Money well spent. My 2 ungrateful uncles glared at Uncle Luo like he'd personally betrayed them. Uncle Luo noticed, and I could see it hurt. But he'd made peace with it overnight. Some bridges can't be unburned. He'd chosen the right side, and he knew it. The head guard was in a good mood and actually gave everyone breakfast. Thin rice porridge and leftover corn buns from the night before. Luxury. Everyone drank the porridge, but saved the buns for later. Survival instincts kicking in. We left the station around mid-morning, and that is when the palace woke up to my masterpiece. Emperor Han Shao opened his eyes. His personal eunuch took one look at his face and nearly collapsed.
Your.
Your Majesty, your face. What about my face? There's a turtle drawn on it.
And.
The words. Turtle egg. The eunuch's voice got quieter with every word, like a balloon slowly deflating, because telling an emperor someone drew a cuckold joke on his face is basically a suicide mission. Before Han Shao could even process his rage, more bad news arrived at the door. The kitchen manager burst in. Sire, the kitchen's been cleaned out again. The night guards say things vanished into thin air. They think the palace is haunted. The pharmacy director followed. All our medicines are gone too. The cabinets are still perfectly in place, but every herb has simply disappeared. Han Shao had that sinking feeling. He ran to the treasury. Empty. Again. The head of the Imperial Guard, poor Commander Chen, the guy who'd been given 7 days to find the thief, was summoned. He knew he was dead. But before his execution, he offered one last theory. Your Majesty, what if it's not human? What if it's a demon? We had guards everywhere. 3 layers. Nothing got past us. The only explanation is something supernatural. Han Shao, desperate, summoned the imperial astrologer, the national fortune teller. This guy studied the stars, did some mystical calculations, and arrived at a conclusion. The dynasty was going to change hands. Did he tell the emperor this? Absolutely not. You don't tell a king he's about to lose his throne. That's a fast way to lose your head. Instead, he said something vague and unhelpful. Move your valuables somewhere else. Don't call it a treasury this time. Groundbreaking advice. Thanks, Mystic Man. Han Shao was implementing the astrologer's suggestion when a guard rushed in with one final update. Your Majesty. Your undergarments are hanging from the main palace gate. I am told the emperor nearly fainted. His underwear on the gate, where hundreds of palace staff could see them. His royal silk drawers, swaying gently in the wind like the world's most humiliating banner. He immediately ordered a cover-up. And no one speaks of this. Ever. Too late. The entire palace already knew. The concubines knew. The servants knew. The gardeners knew. By lunch, every person behind those palace walls was quietly snickering about the emperor's underpants. Han Shao swore he would dig up every stone in the kingdom to find the culprit. Good luck with that, Your Majesty. Your culprit is currently shuffling down a dusty road in chains, looking like the world's most harmless prisoner, with 3 kids hanging off her and 200 million gold coins in her invisible pocket.
Catch me if you can.
The heat finally broke today. Clouds rolled in, blocking the sun, and for the first time in days, we weren't being slow-roasted like human kebabs. The prisoners practically wept with relief. As we walked, I spotted something that made my heart sing. Wild shepherd's purse and dandelions growing along the roadside. Everywhere. Now, in my previous life, the 23rd century zombie apocalypse 1, wild vegetables were practically gold. Before the world ended, people used to feed this stuff to pigs. Then, as living standards improved, everyone suddenly decided wild greens were trendy and delicious. Then the ecosystem collapsed. Wild plants became rare, and we could only get lab-grown versions that tasted like sadness. So seeing real wild dandelions just casually growing in a ditch, it was like finding treasure. Except edible treasure. The best kind. I started picking as I walked. The head guard didn't stop me. As long as I kept pace with the group, he didn't care if I foraged. Quick side note about my pocket dimension situation. I can grow things in my space, but when I got reborn, my entire inventory got wiped. Back to level 1. And upgrading? 100 million gold coins per level. 10 levels total. And each level costs more than the last. Level 2 is 1 billion. I complained to my fox spirit about this. It used to be way cheaper. What happened? The fox gave me this annoyingly corporate response. The space has been optimized post-rebirth. Upgraded features require increased investment. You'll have access to functionalities not available in your previous configuration. It literally sounded like a software update notice. My magical interdimensional fox spirit talks like a tech company press release. Anyway, I'd already spent my first 100 million upgrading my exchange system and storage instead of unlocking farmland. Smart move. Better exchange levels mean I can conjure better stuff. The leftover coins from last night's palace raid I'm saving for supplies. The plan? Let the Imperial Treasury fatten up again, then rob it a third time. In the meantime, I can hit local government treasuries along our route. Those are funded by taxpayer money that corrupt officials are hoarding anyway. Really, I'm doing public service. Robin Hood with a portal gun. My mother-in-law watched me picking weeds with visible confusion. Wanning, why are you collecting grass? Bless her. She grew up wealthy. She's never had to forage a day in her life. These are wild vegetables, Mom. Edible and medicinal. I held up a dandelion. This is dandelion. It detoxifies, protects the liver, helps your eyes, and works as a diuretic. They've already flowered, so they're not as tender as spring ones, but still useful. I figured we could brew some into tea. Plus, I lowered my voice, we can't just spend money forever. We need to think about earning some. Nothing in the exile law says prisoners can't make money on the road. I checked. Well, the original Wanning's memories checked. Same thing. Mother-in-law's eyes lit up. Let me help you pick, I told her to rest. She's been through enough. But someone was eavesdropping. 3 guesses. Who? Yun-jiang heard dandelions and money in the same sentence, and her brain activated like a slot machine hitting jackpot. She snapped at Xiaolan, the concubine-turned-servant. Follow that Luo woman. Whatever she picks, you pick. Xiaolan didn't move. She was done with being ordered around. Her husband, Yushan, got in her face. Grandmother said go. So go. Xiaolan looked at his angry fist and went. Because apparently the threat of violence is the only management strategy this family knows. I felt bad for her. Men really are garbage sometimes. When they love you, you're their precious darling. When they don't, you're disposable. This girl went from honored concubine to unpaid labor in 48 hours. Meanwhile, Yun-jiang herself? She refused to pick a single dandelion. Couldn't lower herself to do manual labor. She's a lady, you see. Too dignified for weeds. Her kids and grandkids also stood around doing nothing because apparently entitlement is genetic. So the only person actually picking was Xiaolan, bullied into it, doing all the work and guaranteed to receive none of the benefit. I stopped picking after a while. I had enough. Yun-jiang told Xiaolan to keep going, already mentally counting imaginary profits from dandelions she didn't pick, wouldn't process, and couldn't sell. This woman genuinely thinks she's going to build a business empire off someone else's labor while contributing nothing. She would have thrived in corporate America. About 2 hours into the walk, the sky changed. Fast. It went from pleasant overcast to the apocalypse is here in about 15 minutes. Everything got dark, not twilight dark, midnight dark. Like someone turned off the sun. The head guard saw it coming. Everyone put on your rain gear. The guards had rain cloaks. The prisoners had nothing. Just their regular clothes and a prayer. But I'd planned for this. Remember when I bought fabric at that first town? I'd quietly swapped the regular cloth for waterproof material from my pocket dimension. It looked like normal fabric, but it was actually 3-layer waterproof tech from the 23rd century. Stealth rain gear. Moyu grabbed those 2 cloths from the bundle. I borrowed a small knife from a guard. Cost me 1 tael, obviously, because nothing in this exile is free, and cut the waterproof fabric into 11 pieces. 1 for each person in our group. Anshin watched me slice up perfectly good fabric and nearly had a heart attack. That's such waste. I'll buy more at the next town, I said. Sorry, Auntie. Can't explain that this fabric is literally from the future. Everyone draped themselves in their pieces just in time. The storm hit like a freight train. Wind first, screaming, sand-blasting wind that made it impossible to open your eyes. Then lightning, splitting the sky like cracks in glass. Thunder so loud the ground shook. My kids dove into the nearest adult like heat-seeking missiles, daughter into my arms, boys into grandma's. Then the rain. Not rain. A waterfall. straight down from the sky with the force of someone throwing rocks. Even through my waterproof cloth, the impact stung.
But we stayed dry.
Our shoes were soaked, sure, but everything else? Perfectly dry under our future tech ponchos. Everyone else?
Drenched.
Getting hammered by rain so hard it hurt their faces. Standing there in sopping prison rags, shivering miserable. The storm passed as fast as it came. Sky brightened, rain thinned, and the head guard immediately ordered us moving again. No rest for the exiled. Yunjiang, dripping wet, hair plastered to her skull, looked over at Xiaolan's pile of soggy dandelions. Keep picking when the road dries out, she ordered, water literally dripping off her nose. She was still thinking about dandelion money. In the middle of a monsoon, with no dry clothes. This woman's greed is honestly impressive in its persistence. Xiaolan clenched her fists so hard her knuckles went white. But she said nothing. Because in this family, saying something means getting hit. Yunjiang saw the rage on her face and sneered. Don't think I don't know what you're thinking. As long as you belong to the Yin family, you'll do as you're told. I watched this whole exchange and thought, one day, Xiaolan is going to snap. And when she does, it's going to be spectacular. But for now, we march. Nobody interfered with Yunjiang bullying Xiaolan. It's their family business. The universal excuse for watching someone get mistreated and doing nothing about it. Xiaolan kept picking dandelions like a sad little robot. For the record, I stopped picking after a while. Dandelions aren't exactly a cash crop. I only wanted enough to brew some detox tea, because this heat was killing everyone. But Yunjiang? She saw dollar signs in those yellow flowers. She kept Xiaolan harvesting like it was a dandelion plantation, until a guard told Xiaolan to get back in line. Just like that, done. Over. Yunjiang had the audacity to complain. Wanning picked dandelions too. Why didn't you stop her? The guard gave her a look that could freeze lava. You got a problem? And no problem. Yeah, that's what I thought. We reached the next station by evening. This one was actually decent, not a horse stable. It had actual bed frames. Separate rooms for men and women. I was so excited I almost forgot we were prisoners. But everyone was soaked from the storm earlier. One set of prison clothes per person, no changes. The men could strip and hang theirs to dry. The women? That would be improper, so they just sat there in cold, wet rags, shivering through the night. Not our group, though. Aunt Chen, who'd been heartbroken when I cut up that good fabric earlier, she was practically glowing with appreciation now.
Completely dry.
Comfortable. She gave me a look that said, I will never question you again. I was tired, so I spread out my dandelions and a plant called unicorn grass to dry, then crashed. Middle of the night. My ears, trained by years of zombie apocalypse survival, picked up movement. Xiaolan sneaking out. She came back 30 minutes later with food and a fresh set of dry prison clothes. Same deal as before. She'd visited her guard friend for private transactions. I didn't judge. I've seen the apocalypse. Survival makes people do things. She was hungry, wet, cold, and trapped in a family that treated her worse than livestock. I wasn't going to throw stones. But guess who was awake? Yunjiang, wide-eyed, staring at Xiaolan's buns like a cat watching a bird through a window. Now let me remind everyone of Yunjiang's greatest hits. I would never eat food obtained by selling one's body. I'd rather starve than touch that filthy food. Our Yun family has standards. So naturally, she said to Xiaolan, give me that food. Xiaolan tried to resist. You said yourself, the food's dirty. Can't have you eating it. Perfect response. 10 out of 10. Use her own words against her. But Yunjiang threatened to beat her, and Xiaolan caved. Because of course she did. This woman rules her family through fear like a tiny, wrinkly dictator. Yunjiang grabbed the buns and was about to take a big shameless bite when, oops, I sat up. She froze. Shoved the bun behind her back like a toddler hiding stolen cookies. I smiled in the darkness. Didn't you say you'd never eat food obtained? That way, my voice wasn't loud, but she heard every syllable. I could practically hear her soul leaving her body. She was trapped. Caught red-handed with the exact food she'd publicly sworn she'd die before eating. Her entire moral high ground, the one she'd been standing on while judging me, while shaming Xiaolan, while starving her own grandchildren, was crumbling beneath her feet. Her response? Did she apologize? Did she show remorse? Did she acknowledge even 1 second of hypocrisy? You have no proof this food came from.
That, she sputtered.
Stop making things up. And then, I kid you not, she ate the bun. Right in front of me, while maintaining eye contact. Like a shameless, defiant raccoon caught in your trash can who just keeps eating instead of running. She ate so fast she choked. Nearly died, right there. Would have been the most poetically ironic death in history, killed by the very bun she swore she'd never eat. She survived, unfortunately. Kept all 3 buns for herself. Didn't give Xiaolan back a single crumb. Xiaolan, the person who'd actually earned that food through genuine sacrifice, got nothing. I turned away. There was nothing left to say. You can't shame the shameless. Yunjiang had transcended hypocrisy and entered some new dimension of audacity that I didn't even know existed. Other women nearby had seen the whole thing. Nobody said a word. They just filed it away as tonight's entertainment and pretended to be asleep. Xiaolan sat there, furious and powerless. But I noticed something. She mentioned that the guard she'd been visiting had promised to help her escape the Yun family eventually. Whether that was true, or just a man telling a woman what she wanted to hear, who knows? But it gave her something to hold on to. Sometimes false hope is the only thing keeping someone going. Near dawn, the sky opened up again. Another downpour. The head guard, showing rare humanity, told us we'd wait until the rain stopped before moving. The prisoners collectively exhaled with relief. But the damage from yesterday's storm was already done. Women who'd walked in wet clothes all night were getting sick. Fevers everywhere. My daughter, Qiling, was burning up. She's the youngest of my triplets and has always been the fragile one. Small, sickly, born last and weakest. My little fox scanned her. 38.5 degrees Celsius. High fever. Needs immediate treatment. Her tiny hand gripped my shirt.
Mama, Lingo feels so bad.
Am I going to die? My heart cracked right down the middle. Not while I'm here, I said, pulling her close. Mama won't let anything happen to you. I secretly conjured children's fever suspension from my pocket dimension and mixed it into rice soup with softened bun. Ancient world baby medicine, served in a medieval soup bowl. She ate it slowly, trusting me completely. Mother-in-law hovered like a worried hawk, watching her granddaughter's every breath. Qiling's question about dying spooked the other sick people too. Several women who'd been trying to tough out their fevers suddenly realized they could actually die on this road. One of the Yun family women dropped to her knees in front of me. Please, Mrs. Han, have mercy. Save us too. The Luo family sick members from my 3rd and 4th uncle's households also had fevers, but after the falling out, they were too proud to ask me. They just sat there suffering in silence, which is the most counterproductive use of pride I've ever seen. The Yun woman who asked? She'd never been rude to me. No drama, no insults, no siding with Yunjiang. Just a scared woman with a fever asking for help. I said yes. Of course I said yes. I'm petty, not heartless. There's a difference. I got to work treating the sick women. Same diagnosis across the board, caught in the rain, got chilled fever. Nothing complicated. Just needed to bring the temperatures down. Now, I could have used my pocket dimension fever medicine again, but mother-in-law was watching me like a hawk. If I pulled out another suspiciously modern-looking liquid, she was going to start asking questions I couldn't answer. Oh, it's just an ancient herbal remedy I read about in a book. Only works so many times before even the most trusting person starts side-eyeing you. So, I went old school. Actual old school. I needed a kitchen, and luck was on my side. The guard on duty today was Officer Yi, one of the guys I'd saved from heatstroke. He owed me his life, and he knew it. Mrs. Han, let me check with the boss for you, he said, practically bowing. Life-saving debt. The gift that keeps on giving. He got approval, and I headed to the kitchen with my dried dandelions. Fun fact about me. In my previous life, I grew up in a traditional Chinese medicine family. While everyone else in the 23rd century used fancy new energy heating systems to process herbs, my parents insisted on doing it the ancient way, with fire, slow simmering, the whole deal. Other doctors laughed at us, called us fossils. Why use firewood when you have fusion-powered induction cookers? Because the old way preserves the medicine's potency better. That's why. And thank God my parents were stubborn about it, because now I'm literally in ancient times with nothing but firewood and a clay pot. Those 23rd century doctors with their plasma heaters? They'd be useless here.
Who's the fossil now?
I brewed dandelion water, filled up water pouches, and distributed them to the sick women. Drink this, wipe yourselves down with wet cloth, and let the fever break naturally. You'll be fine. I sent a pouch to my kids and Uncle Luo's family through Officer Yi and Moyu. No side effects, just gentle herbal cooling. Within 2 hours, everyone improved. My daughter's fever broke completely, though she was still tired and listless, which is normal for a 5-year-old who just fought off a 38.5 degrees Celsius fever in a medieval prison camp. Yun Jiang naturally took notes. Not about the medicine, about the money. Dandelions cure fevers? We need to pick more. We can sell them. This woman watched me save lives, and her only takeaway was, that's monetizable. She'd make a terrifying pharmaceutical CEO. The rain returned, so the head guard kept us sheltered. Good news for the sick people. Bad news for everyone's stomachs. We only get 2 meals a day, and lunch isn't one of them. Now let me tell you about the Yun family dinner theater. Episode 847. Yun Jiang had Xiaolan's stolen buns. All of them. Did she share with her starving family? Reader, she did not. She turned her back and ate in secret like a squirrel hoarding acorns. Her daughter-in-law, Yun Yi, caught her mid-chew. Mother, how could you be so selfish? We've always given you the best food. And now you're hiding buns from us. Yun Jiang didn't even flinch. I'm your mother-in-law. My food is my food. I share when I want to, not when you demand it. The sheer brass. This woman could teach masterclasses in shamelessness. Yun Yi backed down because she knows arguing with Yun Jiang is like arguing with a brick wall that somehow always wins. The woman could convince you that up is down, and then make you apologize for being confused. But Yun Jiang had a brief moment of strategic thinking. She'd need her son and daughter-in-law to support her in the north. Can't burn all the bridges. So she tossed them a crumb. Literally. She called Xiaolan over. Go get more buns. I can't. Yun Jiang swung her iron chain and cracked Xiaolan across the forehead. Figure it out. Come back empty-handed and see what happens. A red welt bloomed on Xiaolan's pale skin. She stood there trembling with rage, then turned and walked toward the guards. She whispered something to an officer. He let her out. She was gone for an hour. She came back with 7 buns. She'd already eaten 2 and hidden 2 more for herself. Smart girl, learning to game the system. She handed 5 to Yun Jiang. 5? You were gone an hour for 5 buns? Useless. Xiaolan said nothing. She lay down and closed her eyes. She'd just serviced 3 different guards. She was exhausted. The details I'll spare you, because this isn't that kind of story, but the math speaks for itself. The other women watched with visible disgust. In their world, a woman's purity is everything. What Xiaolan was doing made her lower than dirt in their eyes. They'd rather starve. I didn't share their judgment. I'd seen the apocalypse. I'd seen people do far worse for far less. Survival doesn't care about your moral framework. Yun Jiang distributed the buns with the fairness of a cartoon villain. 2 for her daughter-in-law and granddaughter. Her daughter, Yun Jinner, who was basically Yun Jiang Jr., equally bratty, took an entire bun for herself and told the other 2 daughters-in-law to split one. The youngest daughter-in-law, Yun Qin, Yongxi's mom, got nothing. Expected nothing. She'd learned to expect nothing from this family.
But Yun Yi surprised me.
She quietly broke her half-bun and shared it with Yun Qin. A small act of decency in a family that had almost none. While all this drama was unfolding, I'd been busy in the kitchen doing something actually productive. I cooked real food, rice, vegetables, the works, and bought a food box from the station's kitchen staff to carry it in. Our family sat together eating an actual meal. Hot rice, cooked greens, flavor, nutrition. The other prisoners watched us like we were eating at a five-star restaurant. Some of them were literally drooling. Mother-in-law felt so guilty, she could barely swallow. She's too kind for this world. Every bite, she'd glance at the hungry people watching us, and her chopsticks would slow down. I understood her discomfort, but we didn't have enough to feed 60 people. That's just reality. But it got me thinking. We couldn't keep going like this. Us eating while everyone else starved, mother-in-law dying of guilt, tension building. We needed a long-term solution. I needed to find a way for all of us to make money on this road. Not just survive, actually earn enough to eat properly. Time to put my 23rd century brain to work on some ancient world economics. After our meal, I pulled mother-in-law and Aunt Chin aside for a strategy meeting. Look, I said, keeping my voice low. Everyone traveling with us got dragged into this because of the Han family. They're watching us eat while they starve. Right now it's just resentment, but eventually, hungry people do desperate things. I'm not worried about myself. I can handle adults. But the kids are small. If these people gang up on us, they'll target the children first. Both women went pale. They hadn't thought of that. So, here's my plan. We help them earn money. Feed everyone.
Keep the peace.
It's not charity, it's security. They agreed immediately. Mother-in-law would handle convincing the Yun family. The Luo family was trickier. My uncles and I weren't exactly on speaking terms, but ignoring them would just create more drama down the road. Yun Jiang noticed us huddling and started creeping closer, like a nosy satellite dish trying to pick up a signal. I shut the conversation down before she got within earshot. She caught nothing. You could practically see the curiosity eating her alive. That night, Yun Jiang sent Xiaolan out again on her usual errand. Xiaolan didn't come back. Morning arrived. Roll call.
No Xiaolan.
Yun Jiang wasn't worried about the girl's safety, mind you. She was worried about her breakfast. She must have been with the guards all night. She should be bringing back extra food. Maybe even meat. This woman viewed another human being as a food delivery service. That's it. That's her entire value system. The guard gave us the news flatly. The woman went to relieve herself last night, slipped, hit her head on a sharp rock, died on impact. We buried her in the mass grave this morning. Just like that.
Gone.
Yun Jiang's face fell. Not from grief, but from the realization that her personal bun procurement system had permanently shut down. No more Xiaolan meant no more midnight snacks. The sorrow of a parasite losing its host. Was it really an accident? A slip and a perfectly positioned sharp rock? Maybe. Life is fragile, and the ground was wet. But I couldn't help thinking about the guard who'd promised Xiaolan he'd help her leave the Yun family.
Well,
she left. Just not the way she'd hoped. Or maybe exactly the way someone planned. I didn't dwell on it. I couldn't change it. But I filed it away. These guards aren't just indifferent. Some of them might be dangerous. Breakfast was a block of rough cornbread. One per person. Then back on the road. My daughter's fever was gone, but she was still weak and drowsy. I strapped her to my back and carried her. Weighted hiking, great cardio if you ignore the chains, the heat, and the existential dread. I was drenched in sweat within the first hour. Hair plastered to my face, legs burning, shoulders aching. Qi whispered in my ear, "Mama, put me down. You're tired." This child, 5 years old, barely recovered from a fever, and she's worried about me. Mama's not tired. Go back to sleep, baby. She wasn't convinced, but she was too exhausted to argue. She fell asleep against my back within minutes. Around noon, we stopped near a pine forest. 2 days of rain meant one thing to my 23rd century survival brain: pine mushrooms. They love damp conditions and pine needle beds. If I could find some, we'd have actual delicious food and a potential product to sell. I asked the head guard for permission to use the forest for a bathroom break. He unlocked my hand chains. We were on good terms now, thanks to the whole saving his men's lives thing. Mother-in-law, being the protective mama bear she is, sent Moyu to go with me. Not because she didn't trust me, but because she didn't trust the guards. Her daughter-in-law is apparently attractive enough to worry about, and a woman alone in the woods with armed men is a recipe for trouble. Yun Jiang, naturally, had commentary. Oh, Cloud Girl, you're sending your younger son to chaperone because you're worried your daughter-in-law and the guard will get up to something, right? I didn't even bother with words this time. I kicked her. Not a gentle nudge. A full-force boot to the midsection that sent her sprawling to the ground.
Ow.
Wanning, you have no respect for your elders. I looked down at her. I respect people who deserve respect. You don't qualify. Her two daughters-in-law were standing behind her, and I swear I saw them smiling. They looked like people watching their least favorite coworker get fired.
Pure catharsis.
Yunjiang appealed to mother-in-law. Cloud Girl, she's your daughter-in-law. Discipline her. She kicked me. If you don't control her now, she'll walk all over you next. Mother-in-law, sweet, gentle, proper mother-in-law, straightened her spine and said, "Don't worry about how I manage my household. Wanning is wonderful. If she hadn't kicked you, I would have yelled at you myself. People with filthy minds always assume the worst about others. You brought this on yourself." Boom. Mother-in-law with a kill shot. Yunjiang, sputtering, turned to her husband.
Junde.
Your niece is bullying me. Do something. Uncle Yunda had been pretending to be invisible, as usual. But something about today was different. He'd had enough. He walked over and slapped Yunjiang across the face. I've been patient with you. Don't mistake my patience for permission. Yunjiang's jaw dropped. In all the years of their marriage, he'd apparently never hit her. She was so shocked she just stood there, buffering like a broken computer. Then the screaming started. You heartless, ungrateful. I tuned her out. I turned to my 3 kids, who'd watched the whole thing. Probably should address the "mama just kicked an old lady" moment. Listen, if you can solve a problem with words, use words. But if someone refuses to be reasonable, don't waste your breath. Handle it directly. They nodded with the solemn confusion of 5-year-olds receiving life advice they'll understand in about 10 years. You'll get it when you're older. More nodding. Good enough. Into the pine forest I went, with Moyu and 2 guards in tow. I immediately started digging through pine needles on the forest floor, looking for the telltale bumps of mushroom caps pushing through the damp earth. Moyu watched me pawing at the ground like a woodland creature. Sister-in-law, what are you looking for? Oh, Moyu. Sweet, beautiful, oblivious Moyu. Just wait till you see what's hiding under these needles. I was so focused on searching the forest floor that I didn't even hear Moyu talking to me. Then, jackpot. Pine mushrooms. A whole colony of them, pushing up through the damp needles, like little brown treasures. Help me pick these, I told Moyu. He squinted at them like they were alien eggs. Sister-in-law, are you sure these are edible? Some mushrooms are poisonous, some aren't. If you don't know what you're doing, you'll eat the wrong one and die. But I know what I'm doing. He did not look convinced, but he started picking anyway. Good soldier. I tipped the 2 guards some silver to wait patiently while we foraged. Money talks. They practically sat down and had a picnic. Then I found the real prize, a massive patch of termite mushrooms. These are the Wagyu beef of the mushroom world. Rare, delicious, incredibly hard to find. And I'd stumbled onto a whole field of them. I wrapped everything in my waterproof cloth and we headed back. We'd been in there about 30 minutes. Mother-in-law was panicking by the time we emerged. She and Aunt Chen had been convinced something terrible had happened. And Yunjiang, sporting a fresh bruise from her husband's slap and a boot print from my kick, was still talking trash. Your daughter-in-law's been in those woods for quite a while. Must be doing something shameful in there. This woman. I literally kicked her an hour ago, and she's already back at it. She's like a cockroach of negativity, unkillable. Mother-in-law was about to slap her. I actually saw her raise her hand, but Aunt Chen called out that we were back, and the moment passed. Moyu explained. We were picking mushrooms. Sister-in-law says they're edible. He opened the bundle. Beautiful pine mushrooms and termite mushrooms, fresh and fragrant. Mother-in-law's face went from relieved to horrified. Wanning.
Throw those away.
I've heard of people dying from eating mushrooms. Nobody eats those. Mom, there are poisonous ones and safe ones. Bright-colored mushrooms are usually deadly. Some ugly ones too. But these? Completely safe. Let me cook them and you'll see. They're a delicacy. I gave some termite mushrooms to the two guards who'd waited for us. They boiled them up, took one look at the result, and brought them back to me. You first, their faces said. Cowards. Mother-in-law saw the bowl of mushroom soup heading my way and snatched it out of my hands. Wanning, you're young. You have 3 children to raise and you to look after. She held the bowl like it was a chalice of poison. If these are deadly, better me than you. I watched this woman prepare to sacrifice herself over soup. She downed the entire bowl in one gulp. Then she stood there, completely still, waiting to die. The mushroom broth was obviously delicious. You could see it on her face, the brief flicker of, oh, that's actually really good, fighting against I might be dying. Then she called Moyu and me over. She was arranging her final wishes. Moyu, if anything happens to me, listen to your sister-in-law. When your father and brother clear our family's name, burn some incense for me and let me know. Moyu looked panicked. Sister-in-law said they're safe. You'll be fine, I know, but just in case. This woman wrote her entire will over a bowl of mushroom soup. I was simultaneously touched, amused, and exasperated. She literally tasted the best broth of her life and responded by planning her funeral. My mother-in-law is a drama queen, and I love her for it.
She didn't die.
Obviously. She was completely fine. And privately, I think she was very impressed by how good that soup tasted. Time for the real plan. I've been thinking about this since yesterday, how to get everyone earning money. While picking mushrooms, it clicked. I could pay the other families to forage, then sell the haul at the next town. Everyone eats. Everyone earns. Nobody tries to rob us in our sleep. I had mother-in-law talk to the Yun family, and Aunt Chin talk to the Luo family branches. The Yun family, minus Yun Zhong's branch, who mother-in-law deliberately excluded because she's done with that woman, was interested. They could see I had skills and resources. Worth a shot. My 2 ungrateful uncles? They said no. Their exact words. We've completely fallen out with the eldest branch. We won't accept their charity, called it. Pride over survival.
Classic.
I wasn't even mad. I told Aunt Chin to inform them specifically so they couldn't complain later that they were left out. Paper trail established. They refused voluntarily. Not my problem. I gathered the willing participants, Yun family members, and laid it out. Here's the deal. Follow me into the pine forest. Pick mushrooms for half an hour. I pay you 1 tael of silver each. Whoever picks the most gets a bonus tael, 1 tael of silver. These people used to spend that on a single cup of fancy tea. Now their eyes went wide like I was offering them a fortune. One of the Yun elders was skeptical. Pay us first. I handed over the silver without hesitation.
No negociation, no flinching.
Instant trust established. The Luo family members who'd refused watched the silver change hands, and I could see the regret forming in real time. And then Yun Jiang, who had been explicitly excluded from this arrangement, materialized like a bad penny. You're giving them silver? Why not US? I stared at her. This woman who'd insulted me, slandered me, gotten kicked and slapped today alone, who'd been cut off from food privileges, who'd bullied a woman to death, indirectly, who'd eaten stolen buns while publicly swearing she never would. This woman wanted to know why she wasn't getting paid. The audacity isn't just impressive anymore. It's transcendent. It's art. Mother-in-law handled Yun Zhong's question for me. My daughter-in-law is paying them to pick mushrooms. It's a job. The Yun family members confirmed it. Yeah, she's hiring us. We're getting paid. My younger aunt, Luo Li, overheard and suddenly developed intense interest. Wanning. Can we help too? We'd love to pick mushrooms. Funny. Real funny. An hour ago, your husband called my offer charity and refused to eat food that's been thrown at him. Now you want in? No, her face crumbled. But we're family. Aunt Chin already told you about this opportunity. You chose to refuse. That was your decision. Aunt Chin backed me up with the energy of a woman who'd been holding in frustration for days. Wanning's right. You said no. Nobody forced you. My uncles' wives started complaining to their husbands. My uncles were annoyed too, but they knew they couldn't start a fight. They were the ones who'd refused. There was no angle here. They'd played themselves, and they knew it. Yun Zhong's branch was in the same boat. Mother-in-law had told every Yun family household except theirs. Completely shut out. And every person in Yunjiang's branch knew exactly whose fault that was. The unspoken resentment toward Yunjiang was reaching critical mass. Beautiful. I confirmed the head count, bribed the head guard 10 taels to let us into the forest with 5 guard escorts, and we went mushroom hunting. I showed everyone a sample mushroom. Pick ones that look like this. Half an hour. Bring them back. Most productive family gets a bonus tael. They scattered like contestants on a reality show foraging challenge. Guards watching their every move. Moyu and I picked 2. Moyu couldn't help himself. Sister-in-law, these mushrooms grow wild for free. Why are you paying people to pick them? Because I need a lot, and what I'm going to earn from selling them will be way more than what I'm spending now. He looked skeptical. But he'd learned by now that questioning me usually just meant watching me be right 15 minutes later. Half an hour passed. Everyone brought back their hauls. The Yun third branch won the bonus. They'd found a massive patch and gone full harvester mode. I paid everyone as promised. Silver in hand, moods lifted, people were actually smiling for the first time since Exile started. Amazing what one tael of silver does for human dignity. While they celebrated, I quietly sorted through the mushrooms. Needed a check for any poisonous lookalikes that might have gotten mixed in. My fox spirit scanned the whole pile in seconds, way faster than eyeballing each one. I pulled out a few toxic imposters and wrapped the rest in waterproof cloth. We resumed marching. The next county was about 4 hours away. Moyu worried. Won't these mushrooms go bad overnight? Valid concern.
Mushrooms rot fast.
But I had spiritual spring water, a few drops, and they'd stay fresh indefinitely. Ancient refrigeration, courtesy of my pocket dimension. The kids helped carry mushrooms. Even little Chi Ling insisted on walking by herself instead of riding on my back. Mama, I'll walk. Then you won't be tired. This girl is going to destroy me emotionally. 5 years old, and already trying to lighten my burden. I let her walk, but told her to speak up the second she got tired. We reached the county seat by nightfall. Actual jail cells this time, still not great, but at least it wasn't a horse stable. Progress. The head guard announced we'd stay 2 days. Shopping trips tomorrow for anyone who needed supplies. The Yun families were buzzing. They had money now. They started planning what to buy like kids with allowance. Yun Jiang announced she'd go out too, planning to sell Xiaolan's dandelions. The dandelions that a dead woman picked. That Yun Jiang forced her to pick, using her bullying power. And now she was going to profit from them. You know what? I don't even have the energy to be outraged anymore. This woman is a force of nature. An evil, shameless force of nature. Next morning, 6 of us were escorted out. Once we cleared the jail, we split up. My escorts were the same 2 guards I'd saved from heatstroke.
Familiar faces.
Friendly-ish. Bribable. I pulled them aside. Gentlemen, I have a business proposition. The one who'd already taken bribes from me. We're listening. I need to sell these mushrooms at the biggest restaurant in town. But I can't walk in wearing prison clothes and chains. So here's what I'm thinking. We all change into normal clothes, you unlock my chains, and you 2 pose as my bodyguards. After the deal, 50 taels of silver. Each. They thought about it for roughly 3 seconds.
Deal.
But we stay with you the entire time, obviously. My whole family is locked in your jail. I'm not going anywhere. Step 1, new clothes. I bought outfits for myself, Moyu, and the guards. Mother-in-law had also asked me to pick up fabric and sewing supplies. She wanted to make embroidery to sell. Love that entrepreneurial spirit. The whole family was getting into business mode. Moyu cleaned up incredibly well. Fresh clothes, good posture, that natural nobleman bearing. He looked like a young lord out for a stroll, not an exiled prisoner. The 2 guards flanking him like bodyguards completed the picture perfectly. Asked around for the best restaurant in town. The answer, Jude House. One of the most famous restaurant chains in the entire Li Kingdom. Started as a tiny eatery, grew into an empire. Exactly the kind of place with deep enough pockets to pay premium prices for rare mushrooms. Go big or go home. And since home was currently a jail cell, going big was the only option. Moyu was nervous. Sister-in-law, Will a fancy place like that even buy mushrooms from US? I shrugged. If they don't, we try the next one. Confidence is free. And I had mushrooms that would make their chef weep with joy. Let's go make some money. We walked up to Jude House and…
Wow.
This place was gorgeous. The biggest, fanciest building in the entire county. Multiple stories, carved wooden railings, silk banners, the ancient Chinese equivalent of a Michelin star restaurant. We strolled in looking like money. Fresh clothes, confident posture, 2 bodyguards trailing behind us. The waiter practically floated over with the biggest smile, seated us at a premium table, and handed us a menu with dish names so poetic they sounded like chapters from a romance novel. I didn't order food. I'd like to speak with your manager. I have a business proposition. The waiter's eyes sparkled. Big spenders wanting to talk business? He sprinted to get the boss. The manager was an older guy, experienced, sharp eyes. He sized us up, liked what he saw, and put on his professional smile. What kind of business did you have in mind? Do you buy mushrooms? Moyu unwrapped the pine mushrooms on the table. Beautiful specimens, fresh, fragrant. The manager looked at them like I'd placed a dead raccoon on his tablecloth.
Madame, Eva.
Never seen these before. As you know, unidentified mushrooms can be poisonous. I'm afraid I can't. Translation. I don't know what these are, and I'm not risking my restaurant's reputation on mystery fungi from a stranger. Fair enough. I'm not going to BG. Thank you for your time, I said with a polite smile. Sorry to bother you. We packed up and left. Clean exit. No drama. Moyu's face, however, looked like someone had cancelled his birthday. It's fine, I told him. That was always a long shot. I have a backup plan. Directly across the street was another restaurant, Fulai House. According to the locals, it used to be just as big as Jude House, until Jude House opened a branch here 6 months ago and absolutely destroyed their business. We walked in and immediately felt the difference. The waiter looked like he'd been crying into his apron. Zero energy. Zero hope. The dining room was emptier than the Imperial Treasury after my visits. He saw us and sighed. If you're here for the 8 treasure duck, that's across the street. This poor man was so beaten down, he was literally directing customers to his competitor. We're eating here, I said. His face lit up like a lantern festival. He practically carried us to a table, shoved menus into our hands, and transformed into the most attentive waiter in human history. Night and day, from 3 seconds ago. I scanned the menu. Prices were lower than Jude House. In theory, that should mean more customers, not fewer. Which meant the problem wasn't pricing, it was the food. I ordered their signature dishes. Kitchen wasn't busy, obviously, so everything came out fast. I tasted everything.
It was fine.
Acceptable. Not bad, but not memorable. The kind of food that fills your stomach, but doesn't make you come back. In a town without competition, it'd be enough. Against Jude House? Death sentence. But I could work with this. I'd like to speak with your owner. I have a business proposal. The waiter didn't even hesitate. The boss is here. I'll get him right now. The owner, Lin Kong, was young. About my age. His father had died a year ago, leaving him the restaurant. He was clearly in over his head, watching his family's legacy crumble against a corporate competitor. He introduced himself politely and asked what I wanted to discuss. Mr. Lin, I have several family recipes, secret ones. Due to unfortunate circumstances in my family, I'm willing to sell them. If you use these recipes, they'll become your restaurant's signature dishes. Unique. One of a kind. Nothing Jude House can copy. The waiter, loyal but overprotective, immediately jumped in. Boss, she said her family had unfortunate circumstances. What if the recipes are bad luck? Don't trust her. I stared at him. Sir, that is not how cooking works. Recipes don't carry curses. This isn't a haunted cookbook. My family's situation has nothing to do with the quality of my recipes, I said evenly. If you're willing to try, these dishes will change your restaurant's future. Lin Kong was wavering. I could see it. The desperation of a young owner watching his inheritance circle the drain versus the fear of getting scammed. The waiter tried again. Boss, she's exaggerating. Don't. Well, you looked like he wanted to stuff a mushroom in this waiter's mouth. Lin Kong made his decision. You can use my kitchen. Show me what you've got. If I'm impressed, we'll talk terms. Yes. He led us to the back. The kitchen staff saw the boss coming and all stood up nervously. They thought he was about to announce the restaurant was closing, and they were all fired. The relief on their faces when they realized it was just about a cooking demo was palpable. Lin Kong cleared the kitchen for me. The ingredients are yours to use. Cook whatever you want. My brother-in-law will bring the dishes out when they're ready. I nodded. One condition, you and your kitchen staff wait outside. These are secret recipes. Nobody watches me cook. He agreed immediately. He understood the value of proprietary recipes. So there I was, alone in a stranger's kitchen, plus Moyu and 2 guards who couldn't cook to save their lives, about to audition for the job of saving a failing restaurant. The kitchen staff gathered outside with their boss, nervously waiting to taste whatever this random woman produced. Lin Kong stared at the kitchen door. I could tell, despite his doubts, despite his waiter's warnings, some part of him believed.
Good.
Time to blow some minds. The kitchen was perfect. All the ingredients were prepped and ready. Spices, sauces, oils, vegetables, meats, everything I needed, just sitting there waiting for someone competent to use them. I grabbed 3 woks.
Yes. 3.
Simultaneously. Moyu's jaw hit the floor. He knew the original Wanning liked cooking, but 3 pans at once? That's not, I enjoy cooking. That's, I was a chef in a previous life, which technically I wasn't, I was a soldier. But when the zombie apocalypse wipes out most restaurants, you learn to cook really well, or you eat canned beans forever.
Chose excellence.
Good thing mother-in-law wasn't here. She'd have had a lot of questions about her supposedly delicate daughter-in-law running a kitchen like a military operation. In 90 minutes, I produced 16 dishes. 6 were improved versions of their existing menu items, same dishes but with my techniques applied. Consider it a free consultation. The other 10 were my originals, recipes from my previous life, adapted for ancient ingredients. Each one unique. Each one unforgettable. I sent them out one at a time. By the time I emerged from the kitchen, every single plate was licked clean. Not a grain of rice remaining. Lin Kong looked like he'd just witnessed a religious experience. The head chef couldn't contain himself. That mapo tofu, how? When I make it, the meat is always a bit tough and chewy. Yours was perfectly crispy. What's the secret? That's my proprietary method. I can't share it for free. He understood. Kitchen secrets are sacred. He didn't push. Lin Kong was sold. Let's talk business. Name your price. The 2 guards agreed to let me negotiate privately. Moyu had to wait outside, but that was fine. This was grown-up business. I laid out my terms. Those 6 improved dishes?
Free.
They're upgrades to your existing menu. Consider it a gift. The other 10? Those are my family recipes. Different complexity, different pricing. He nodded. What are the numbers? I wrote the prices on paper. 50 taels for the simplest recipes. 300 for the most complex. 10 recipes total. 1,800 taels of silver. I watched him do the math. 1,800 taels. That's a lot of money. But averaging it out, 180 per recipe for dishes that could save his entire restaurant from bankruptcy? That's a bargain and he knew it. He'd tasted the food. He'd watched his own chef admit he couldn't replicate it. He knew Jude House across the street was slowly suffocating his family business. This was his lifeline.
Deal, he said.
But the recipes are exclusive to me. You can cook for your family, but you can't sell these dishes or recipes to anyone else. Obviously. That's standard. We started writing. I wrote the recipes, every detail, every step, exact temperatures, precise timing, ingredient ratios. These weren't vague. Add some of this, stir for a while, instructions. These were professional specifications. Any competent cook could follow them and produce the exact same result. Lin Kong, who'd bought other recipe collections before, was visibly impressed. These are the most detailed recipe instructions I've ever seen. Yeah, well, in the 23rd century, we had standardized recipe documentation. Old habits die hard. He wrote the contract. I reviewed it. Clean, fair, no hidden clauses. We both signed. Then I pulled out the mushrooms. I also have these pine mushrooms. They're seasonal, rare, and delicious. I'll sell you everything I have for 30 taels. And here, I handed him a bonus recipe card. This shows you how to cook them. If pine mushrooms aren't available, you can substitute regular shiitake. Free of charge. His face lit up like he'd gotten a bonus Christmas present. 1,800 for the recipes. 30 for the mushrooms. Total payday, 1,830 taels of silver. Lin Oncom wanted to chat more. He was clearly excited about his restaurant's future, but I had guards to pay and a jail cell to return to. Cinderella had a curfew. If you develop any new recipes, he said at the door, please come to me first. Of course, I said politely, knowing full well I'd probably never see this county again. Outside, Moyu was waiting nervously. How'd the mushrooms sell? 30 taels. I watched his face fall as he did the mental math. We'd spent 60 taels on guard bribes, for taels on supplies. Selling mushrooms for 30 meant we were in the red.
Don't worry, I said.
I also sold the recipes. Made a lot more than I spent. How much more? Enough. Trust me. His relief was instantaneous. This kid's emotions are displayed on his face like a billboard. I paid the guards their 50 taels each. A promise is a promise, and we spent the remaining shopping time buying essentials. Not too much, though. Heavy bags and long marches don't mix. Back at the jail, mother-in-law was thrilled with her sewing supplies. She immediately started planning embroidery projects to sell. The whole Han family was turning into a traveling business operation. My ungrateful uncles and Yunjong's branch, they had nothing. They watched everyone else unpack purchases with the bitterest expressions imaginable. They hated me. I could feel their resentment radiating across the cell like body heat. Mother-in-law asked how the mushroom sale went. Moyu told the whole story, minus the exact recipe payment because I'd kept that vague. She accepted it without pressing. In her mind, Wanning liked cooking, so selling recipes made sense. No suspicion raised. She also didn't ask how much I earned. Smart woman. She respects financial privacy. Late that evening, the head guard brought in 2 new prisoners. Big guys. Mean-looking. The kind of faces that make you cross the street in a dark alley. Everyone scooted away from them, like they were radioactive. The whole cell went quiet. I looked at them. They looked at me. They were hungry. Obviously hungry. Staring at other people's food with that desperate but too proud to ask expression. I grabbed 2 buns and walked over.
Here.
Eat. They froze. Nobody had shown them kindness, probably in a very long time. Then they took the buns and demolished them in seconds. Moyu pulled me aside afterward. Why did you give them food? They look dangerous. They could be criminals. Moyu, not everyone who looks scary is scary. And not everyone who looks nice is nice. I should know. My best friend in my previous life looked like an angel and literally stabbed me in the chest.
Moyu thought about it. That
actually makes sense. He's learning.
Slowly.
But he's learning. My aunt saw me give buns to the 2 scary strangers and immediately thought, oh, maybe we'll get some too. I didn't even look in their direction. The fury radiating from that side of the cell could have powered a small city. Aunt Chen, watching from our corner, was practically glowing with satisfaction. Serves them right. My uncles were seething, but they kept quiet. Last time they started something, they embarrassed themselves. Even they had enough self-awareness to know that picking another fight would make them look worse. And Yunjiang? After being slapped and kicked by me in the last 48 hours, she developed a healthy survival instinct. Not a peep. She sat there like a defused bomb. Progress. The 2 big guys, the ones I gave buns to, walked over. Moyu immediately went into bodyguard mode, puffing up like a territorial rooster. Don't worry. I'll protect you all. This 18-year-old kid, trying to shield our entire family from 2 men who are each twice his width. Adorable. Terrifying. Admirable. But they weren't here to fight. They bowed to me. Thank you for the food, Mississippi. If you ever need anything on the road, just ask. We owe you. Their names were Hu Zhong and Hu Yi, brothers. Former guards at this very county's treasury. And their story? It made my blood boil. 2 years ago, The county magistrate embezzled the funds meant to build a flood dam. When the floods came, the dam failed. Their entire family drowned. Parents, wives, children gone. Because some bureaucrat wanted a bigger house. When the brothers discovered the truth, they reported it to the higher authorities. Young, naive, believing the system would deliver justice. It didn't, because the magistrate's boss was in on it. Officials protecting officials. The magistrate flipped the accusation, charged the brothers with stealing from the Treasury they were supposed to guard, sentenced them to exile. 2 honest men, punished for trying to expose corruption. Their families dead because of greed. Sound familiar? I couldn't verify every detail, but I could read people. These men weren't lying. Their pain was real. And honestly, my own family situation was proof enough that the justice system in this country was a dumpster fire. The emperor framed our family for the exact same reason: fear and power. The benevolent exile sentence was just PR. Look how merciful I am. I didn't kill my own cousin's family. I only banished them to freeze to death in the wilderness. What a saint. That night, after everyone was asleep, I made my move. Sleep needle everyone. Portal open. Fox Spirit navigation activated. First stop, the county treasury. Cleaned it out. Every last coin.
Gone.
Second stop, the corrupt magistrate's house. He'd hidden his personal stash in some incredibly clever spot. Secret compartments, false walls, the works. Probably thought nobody could find it. My Fox Spirit found it in about 30 seconds. Not even a challenge. Third stop, the higher official, the one who'd covered for the magistrate. His treasury got the same treatment. Total haul from one night of righteous theft, 25 million gold coins. Let me be clear about my moral framework here. These men stole taxpayer money meant for a dam. People died. Families drowned. The Hu brothers lost everyone they loved. And the officials responsible not only walked free, they punished the whistleblowers. So yes, I robbed them. I robbed them blind. And when the emperor inevitably investigates the missing funds, he'll discover the embezzlement trail, and these corrupt officials will face actual consequences. I'm not just a thief. I'm a thief with a social justice mission. Robin Hood wishes she had my toolkit. Next morning, dawn departure. We left early enough that the streets were empty. No crowds, no rotten vegetables, no angry mobs. Peaceful, for once. Standard routine. 2 hours of walking, 1 hour of rest at midday. We were still in pine forest territory, and with all the recent rain, there'd be mushrooms everywhere. The Yun family workers from last time approached me eagerly. Are we picking mushrooms again? Same deal. I scouted the forest first. Yep, even more pine mushrooms than before. Jackpot.
Same price.
Let's go. The Hu brothers asked to join. Can we help too? Of course. More hands, more mushrooms, more money for everyone. My uncles watched all of this happening, and the pain was visible. I was hiring the Yin family. I was hiring complete strangers. I was hiring everyone. Except them. Aunt Jiang from the 3rd branch couldn't take it anymore. She marched up to me with the audacity of someone who'd completely forgotten the last 5 days.
Wanning.
Okay, fine. Last time was our fault. But family disagreements are normal. You get over them. This time you've gone too far. You'd rather hire strangers than your own relatives? That's heartless. I didn't respond. Didn't even make eye contact. Just kept walking. The Yun family's eldest daughter-in-law, Moyu's cousin's wife, jumped in with the verbal equivalent of a dropkick. Are you people serious right now? She gave you a chance. You spit on it.
Called it charity.
Told her you didn't need her help. And now you're standing here, with your hand out calling her heartless? I have never in my life seen people this shameless. Everyone else piled on in agreement. My aunt retreated, thoroughly roasted. Uncle 3 yelled at his wife for embarrassing him. We don't need her. I'll figure out how to make money on my own. Aunt Jiang whispered. Do you have a plan? Long pause. That's men's business. Don't ask. Translation. He had absolutely no plan. Later, I caught my 2 uncles huddling together, brainstorming. Uncle 4 suggested, what if we just copy Wanning? She sells mushrooms, we sell mushrooms. Uncle 3 shook his head. Yunjiang tried to sell dandelions. Made zero. You think we can sell mushrooms without knowing which ones are safe, how to preserve them, or who to sell them to? Uncle Four deflated. Good point. They sat there in defeated silence. Two grown men who'd refused a lifeline out of pride and were now slowly realizing that pride doesn't buy dinner. Meanwhile, I was in the forest with my crew, filling bags with premium mushrooms, planning my next restaurant deal, and sitting on 25 million freshly stolen gold coins. Life is good when you stop cutting off your own nose to spite your face. Someone should tell my uncles. My uncles brainstormed for approximately forever and came up with exactly 0 ideas. Shocking. Two grown men who rejected a guaranteed income source out of pride couldn't think of an alternative. Who could have predicted this? But then, a miracle. Well, a rabbit-shaped miracle. My cousin Luo Mingyu went into the pine forest to use the bathroom, and a wild rabbit literally ran into a tree right in front of him.
Just bunk.
Knocked itself unconscious. He picked it up and walked out grinning like he'd won the lottery.
Mom, Dad.
Look what I got. Uncle Four and his wife stared at this rabbit like it was made of solid gold. In their previous life of luxury, a rabbit was nothing.
Now?
A rabbit was salvation. Wild rabbit meat sells for at least 1 tael of silver. Uncle Three immediately got jealous.
So,
Let's go find one too. He and his boy charged into the forest with the desperate energy of men whose dinner depended on it. They came out with nothing, not even a squirrel. The forest had given exactly 1 freebie, and it went to the other family. Meanwhile, I finished my mushroom operation, paid everyone, gave the guards their cut, kept the surplus. The guards had tried my mushrooms last time and were now enthusiastic customers. Amazing how I'm not eating that it could be poison turns into can I have seconds after 1 taste. The Hu brothers helped carry our massive mushroom haul without being asked. Moyu watched them, and I could see his worldview shifting in real time.
Huh.
Big scary men. Being helpful? Maybe sister-in-law was right about not judging by appearances. Growth. My daughter kept sneaking glances at Mingyu's rabbit. She was locked onto that bunny, like a tiny predator. Linger, do you want that rabbit? She nodded, eyes huge and sparkling. I briefly imagined her wanting to keep it as a pet. Maybe name it. Build it a little bed in our. It looks really fat, Mama. It would make a great roast. This child. My 5-year-old daughter looked at a fluffy woodland creature and saw dinner. I have never been more proud or more concerned. When we reach the next county, Mama will buy you several rabbits for roasting. Why, pure sunshine.
Pure carnivoro suncine.
Quick interlude about justice. Remember how I robbed the corrupt county magistrate last night? I didn't just take his money. I also found his personal ledger. This idiot had kept detailed records of every bribe, every embezzled fund, every diverted disaster relief payment. Names, amounts, dates, everything. He'd kept it as blackmail insurance. If I go down, I'm taking everyone with me. Classic corrupt official move. But it also made him the world's dumbest criminal, because those records were now in my possession, and I'd anonymously forwarded them to the emperor. The emperor would investigate. The magistrate and his bosses would face consequences. Justice for the Hu brothers' drowned families? Probably not completely. The legal system here has more holes than Swiss cheese, and small people rarely get their convictions overturned. But at least the men who killed their families would suffer. Pig teammates, as we say. Your own paperwork betrayed you. Back to the rabbit situation. By evening, the rabbit was dying. The collision with the tree had done more damage than they'd thought. It had been alive, through the day on pure adrenaline, basically the animal equivalent of a last hurrah. Now it was fading fast. The next county was 5 days away. A dead rabbit with no refrigeration in summer heat wouldn't last till morning, let alone 5 days. Mingyu knew the only person with money was me. But after everything his family had said and done, he couldn't bring himself to ask. His mother had no such hesitation. Aunt Lee marched over to me carrying the half-dead rabbit with the energy of a used car salesman approaching their last customer of the month. Aunt Chen saw her coming, and her eyebrows furrowed so hard they nearly touched. These two women had been quiet enemies for years, polite on the surface, pure venom underneath. A sister-in-law Cold War. Aunt Lee put on her sweetest smile, the one she clearly practices in mirrors. Dear Wanning, your cousin caught this lovely rabbit today. We're so poor, we can't bear to eat it ourselves. Look how fat it is. At least 3 pounds. You have money, maybe you'd like to buy it? I didn't want a dying rabbit. I wanted live rabbits. Multiple ones. At a proper market. In 5 days. No thanks. She didn't quit. Oh no. She went for the guilt play. But Wanning, your poor children haven't had proper meat in days.
They're getting so thin.
You've been making money. Surely you can afford one little rabbit for them. She was implying I was a bad mother. That I was too cheap to feed my own kids. This woman was trying to weaponize my children against me. My eldest son, Chi, piped up in his tiny voice. My mama is not cheap. She already promised to buy us rabbits when we get to the next town. Lots of them. For roasting. 5 years old and already defending his mother's honor against manipulative relatives. This boy has a future. Aunt Lee doubled down, talking directly to the children now. Maybe she's just saying that to make you be quiet. If she won't even buy this rabbit right here, why would she buy ones later? She was trying to make my kids doubt me. Trying to make them cry and throw tantrums so I'd cave and buy her stupid dying rabbit. The absolute low of using children as emotional leverage. In the zombie apocalypse, we had a word for people like this, and it wasn't polite. Mother-in-law stepped in with the calm authority of a woman who has had it. Children, don't listen to outsiders. When your mother says she'll buy you rabbits, she will. She has never broken a promise to you. All 3 kids, in perfect unison. We don't believe her. We believe Mama. My heart. My heart. I didn't raise these kids, the original Wanning did, but whoever she was, she did a magnificent job. Aunt Lee knew she'd lost. Her face twisted with frustration. You're cruel, Wanning. We're in this mess because of you. I'm not asking for charity. I'm offering you a product. Whether I buy it is my choice. And if being connected to me is so terrible, why didn't your family cut ties when I got married? You were happy enough to be related to the Han family when it benefited you. She had no comeback. She stomped back to her family with the rabbit, which promptly died. With no way to preserve it, they roasted it immediately. No seasoning, no marinade, just straight fire. It still smelled incredible. Roasted meat is roasted meat, and everyone's noses perked up. They saved the legs and gave them to the head guard. Bribery by rabbit thigh. Not the worst strategy, honestly. At least they're learning that keeping the guards happy matters. But those rabbit legs could have bought them 1 day of slightly better treatment. My mushroom operation bought me an entire support network. There's levels to this game, uncles. There are levels. My uncle's family split the rabbit meat amongst themselves. 1 small rabbit, divided among a dozen people, everyone got about 2 bites each. They ate it in tiny, savoring shreds, pulling off microscopic pieces like they were rationing caviar. Uncle 3's family got nothing, by the way. Uncle 4 didn't share. The alliance between my 2 ungrateful uncles was already cracking. Turns out solidarity evaporates real fast when there's meat involved. Uncle 4, riding his rabbit-catching high, declared, "We'll just hunt more animals on the road. That's our business plan. We'll be hunters." Uncle 3 agreed. They'd both pivoted from, "We don't need Wanning's help," to, "We'll become wilderness survivalists in 48 hours. These men had never hunted anything in their lives, but sure. Go off, kings. That night, we camped outdoors. I took the night watch as usual and spread the mushrooms on waterproof cloth to dry. In reality, I teleported them into my pocket dimension for proper dehydration and replaced them with illusions. Ancient people see mushrooms on a cloth. I see a logistical problem already solved. Efficiency. The sky was black. Not starry night black, ominous, heavy, suffocating black. Even I felt the mood shift. Then my fox spirit pinged me, "Master, rain incoming. Prepare accordingly." I woke everyone up. The kids rubbed their eyes, adorably confused. Moyu thought I was tired and wanted to swap watch shifts. Everyone put on your rain covers. Now. Moyu looked up at the sky. It didn't look that bad yet. Are you sure it's going to rain? Less than an hour. Mother-in-law didn't hesitate. She wrapped herself up and told Moyu, "Listen to your sister-in-law. Our family and Uncle Luo's family covered up." I gave the Hu brothers a spare cloth. They hadn't had time to prepare. They thanked me. I waved it off. Good allies are worth waterproof fabric. I went to warn the head guard. Rain in 15 minutes. Heads up, he looked skeptical. But he saw that my entire group was already rain-prepped, and he wasn't stupid enough to ignore a woman who'd been right about literally everything so far. He ordered his men to gear up. Other families noticed the commotion and started waking up. The Yun families who'd been working with me had used their silver to buy umbrellas. Smart investment. They covered the women and children first. The men could handle getting wet. Yun Jiang, who had NO money, NO umbrella, and NO allies, had her daughters-in-law frantically gathering tree branches to build a makeshift rain shield. The daughters-in-law did it because Yun Jiang was still technically in charge despite being universally despised. They built covers for everyone else and forgot to make one for themselves. Their husbands, to their credit, held them close and shielded them with their own bodies. Tiny moments of decency in a family built on dysfunction. I'd also made waterproof shoe covers for the kids and mother-in-law from spare fabric. Last time, Qiling got soaked feet and nearly died of fever. Not happening again. The storm hit like a freight train. Thunder, lightning, horizontal rain, the whole apocalyptic package. Everyone who'd prepared was fine. Everyone who hadn't was drenched instantly. The head guard gave me a long, meaningful look. The "how did you know" look. He was starting to realize I wasn't just lucky. I was something else entirely. He didn't ask, though. Smart man. And then, a bolt of lightning, massive, blinding, absolutely savage, cracked down from the sky and struck the ground right in the middle of our camp. Everyone screamed. Everyone scattered. Heart stopped. Breath frozen. And when the flash cleared, when people could see again, when the ringing in their ears subsided enough to process what had happened, it had hit Yun Jiang. Lightning struck Yun Jiang. I cannot make this up. I literally cannot. The universe itself, the actual sky, looked down at this woman and said, enough. Her granddaughter-in-law, Yun Qin, was standing right next to her and watched the whole thing. She froze, then screamed. Grandmother's been hit by lightning. The Yun family rushed over. It was still dark, raining, chaotic. They couldn't see much. When they finally got a look at her, hair standing straight up like a cartoon character, face blackened, body limp. She looked like she'd been plugged into a socket and left there. Some people die instantly from lightning strikes. Some survive through pure, stubborn spite. The question was, which category did Yun Jiang fall into?
Unne yunde çeket her biretin. She's alive.
Barely. Of course, she survived. This woman is too mean to die. Death probably took one look at her personality and said, send her back, I don't want her either. The head guard ordered everyone to evacuate the area. Lightning could strike again. Nobody argued. People moved. Uncle Yunda told his grandson to carry Yun Jiang. Yushan, get over here and carry your grandmother. Yushan's internal monologue was practically visible on his face. No, 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 please no, his wife. Yun Qin. Tiny, meek Yun Qin, who'd been bullied by Yun Jiang since day one, spoke up with the most deadpan delivery I've ever heard. Grandmother got struck by lightning. That means heaven is punishing her for something she did. If my husband carries her, what if the lightning comes for him next? Yun Qian, the quiet one, the one who never talks back, just dropped the most devastating theological argument against helping her mother-in-law. Yushan's mother backed her up immediately. She's right. Yushan is our family's only son. We can't risk him. Uncle Yundo erupted. This is your mother. You ungrateful. If you don't carry her, you'll be the ones heaven punishes. Guilt one. Yushan hoisted the charred, unconscious Yunjiang onto his back and trudged after the group through the pouring rain. I watched the whole scene from under my waterproof cover, dry, warm, and deeply entertained. Some people believe lightning strikes are random acts of nature. Some believe they're divine punishment. Honestly, after watching Yunjiang get zapped by the literal heavens after weeks of being the worst human being on this exile road, I'm not saying it was karma, but I'm not saying it wasn't. After the lightning strike, everyone gave the Yun family a wide berth. Like, other side of the road, wide. The universal consensus was clear. Yun Jiang got zapped because heaven itself had finally had enough of her nonsense. Nobody said it out loud. Everyone thought it very loudly. The Yun family could feel the social distancing. But they had bigger problems, like the unconscious, charred woman on Yushan's back and the lightning still cracking overhead. We kept moving, putting distance between us and the strike zone. Lightning kept hammering down behind us like the sky was playing whack-a-mole. Eventually, we cleared the danger area. But the rain? The rain had zero intention of stopping. The road turned into a mud pit. Every step was a battle, shoes sinking, feet sliding, people stumbling. It was like walking through chocolate pudding, except less delicious and more miserable. My little Chi-Ling slipped and went down hard, knees first into the mud. Her eyes went red immediately. She was trying so hard not to cry, but she was 5 and her knees were scraped, and everything was cold and wet and awful. I handed my stuff to Moyu and crouched down. "Come on, baby. Mama will carry you." She looked at her mud-covered clothes and shook her head.
No, Mama.
"I'll get your clothes sturdy. This
Child.
She's soaking wet, bleeding from the knees, fighting back tears in a thunderstorm during a forced exile march, and she's worried about getting mud on me. I squeezed her little cheek. "Clothes can be washed. Your knees can't unhurt. Get on." She climbed onto my back and immediately relaxed. Safe. Warmish.
Mama poeret transport.
I wonder what she was thinking about up there. Probably her father, the man she's never met. Mother-in-law keeps telling the kids that Grandpa and Daddy are alive, that they'll come back, that the family will be together again someday. Honestly, I have no feelings about this husband of mine. Never met him. The original Wanning spent one drug night with him and couldn't even remember his face. He's basically a theoretical concept at this point. A sperm donor with a military rank. Focus on now. Worry about phantom husbands later. The rain lightened, but didn't stop. We were deep in Qinghe County's rainy season, explained why it had been pouring on and off for days. I hate rain. Hate it. In the apocalypse, rain meant reduced visibility, slippery terrain, and zombies that you couldn't hear coming over the sound of water. 10 years of rain plus zombie shrieking rewired my brain. Every time it rains now, I close my eyes and see undead hordes. Some trauma doesn't wash away, no matter how many lifetimes you get. The head guard pushed us forward, no stopping until the station. Miserable, exhausted, drenched people slogging through mud for hours. When we finally saw the station, the head guard shouted, "Pick up the pace. We're almost there." Everyone found energy they didn't know they had. The promise of a roof is a powerful motivator. The station was small, no gender-separated rooms this time. Everyone crammed together. But it was dry and it was inside, and that was enough. I changed Chi-Ling into dry clothes behind a makeshift curtain. Moyu and the boys held up fabric for privacy. Her knees were just scraped, a little first aid, and she was fine. Then everyone crashed. We'd been marching since the middle of the night. Sleep was non-negotiable. Meanwhile, the Yun Jiang situation. She was alive but unconscious. Her daughters-in-law were tasked with nursing her, which was rich considering both of them had been secretly hoping the lightning would finish the job. I caught their expressions when they thought nobody was looking, a flicker of, would it really be so bad if she just didn't wake up? They didn't say it. They couldn't. But they thought it so hard it was practically audible. The Yun men discussed whether to ask me for medical help. The eldest son, Jingming, shut that idea down immediately. Mother offended Wanning so badly, she got slapped and kicked. There's no way she'll help. Second son agreed. Let's just take care of her ourselves and hope for the best. Uncle Yun sighed the sigh of a man who married the wrong woman 50 years ago and has been paying for it ever since.
Fine.
We'll leave it to fate. The daughters-in-law did their best with what they had. No medicine, no proper cloth, just torn strips from their own clothes dampened with rainwater. They cleaned Yun Jiang's blackened face. No signs of consciousness. Nobody from the other Yun families helped. Everyone had learned from my example. Help Yun Jiang and you risk getting on my bad side. My reputation as The woman you don't cross was apparently more powerful than family obligation.
Uncle Yunda was furious.
You call yourselves my brothers? You won't even help your sister-in-law. Their response, we can barely take care of ourselves. Cold. But also
Fair.
and definitely influenced by the knowledge that I was watching. The head guard brought news. Several more days of rain ahead. We'd be staying at this station until it cleared. Mother-in-law's eyes lit up. Days of downtime meant days of embroidery time. She pulled out the supplies I'd bought her and got to work immediately. And let me tell you, this woman is an artist. Her double-sided embroidery was museum quality. Back when the Han family was wealthy, a single piece of hers sold for 200,000 taels. The kind of work that made collectors weep. All of it was confiscated during the arrest, obviously. But the skill was still in her fingers. Qi Ling watched her grandmother work with absolute fascination, eyes tracking every needle movement. Grandma, can you teach me embroidery? Mother-in-law looked up. It's very hard work. Are you sure? I'm sure. Your embroidery is so pretty. Ancient world girl skills? Honestly, not a bad investment. Embroidery could be a legitimate career for her. Mother-in-law smiled. Once we're safely in the north, I'll teach you properly. But no crying when it gets difficult. I won't cry. Her brothers, naturally, chose violence.
Qi Ling quits everything.
She'll never learn embroidery. Qifeng, remember when she said she'd learn dancing? Lasted 2 days. 2. Qi Ling puffed up like an angry dumpling. Don't underestimate me. This time I'll really learn. For real. I patted her head. I believe you, baby. And when you've learned, will you embroider a handkerchief for Mama? Her face exploded into the most radiant smile, eyes crinkling into little crescent moons, pure joy radiating. Outward like sunshine.
Yes.
I'll make the prettiest one. In the corner of the room, Yunjiang lay unconscious with singed hair and a blackened face, her family debating whether heaven was punishing her. Across the room, my daughter was planning her embroidery career with stars in her eyes. Life is strange. Life is hard. But sometimes, in the middle of exile, in a cramped station during a rainstorm, surrounded by drama and danger, sometimes it's also really, really sweet. Yunjiang was unconscious for a full day and night. High fever, burn marks all over her body, looking like death warmed over. Her 2 daughters-in-law watched her deteriorate and were privately measuring her for a coffin. Then she woke up. Because of course she did. This woman is indestructible. Good people die young. Menaces live forever. It's a universal law. But here's where it got interesting. Her daughters-in-law approached to check on her, and Yunjiang scrambled backward in terror, eyes wide with fear. Who are you people? Everyone froze. Uncle Yunda. You. Don't recognize me? Yunjiang, trembling. And no. Who are you? Why am I tied up? What do you want from me? Her eldest son tried. Mother, it's me. Jingming. Your son. Yunjiang exploded. Liar.
I'm 16.
I'm not even married yet. How could I have a son your age? The lightning had scrambled her brain. Her memory had reset to age 16, before marriage, before children, before she became the most hated woman on this exile road. Uncle Yunda tried her childhood name. Yao Yao. She recoiled. How dare you use my private name, you old man? I'm from the Jiang family of the capital. We're wealthy. Please don't sell me to a brothel. She genuinely believed she'd been kidnapped. She was looking at her own husband of 40-plus years and seeing a strange old man. Looking at her sons and seeing random middle-aged kidnappers. The other prisoners were ruthless. She thinks she's a teenage girl. Honey, you're old enough to be a great-grandmother. The lightning didn't kill her, but it fried her brain. She doesn't even recognize her own family. At your age, the only person who'd buy you is your husband, and he's standing right there. The Yun family listened to these jeers in miserable silence. Then Yunjiang looked at her own hands. Wrinkled. Spotted. The hands of a 60-year-old woman. She'd expected to see the smooth, pale fingers of a 16-year-old girl. The shock was too much. She fainted again. They checked her breathing, still alive. They exhaled. When she woke up the second time, Her memories had fully returned. The 16-year-old episode was temporary, just a glitch in her lightning-fried brain. She was back to being regular old Yun Jiang. Her daughters-in-law's disappointment was almost tangible. They'd had approximately 4 hours of freedom from her tyranny, and now it was over. The show is cancelled. The villain has returned. Season 2 of Suffering begins.
Then,
For 3 straight days. Heavy rain, light rain, drizzle, downpour, repeat. The sky was running a full playlist, and none of the tracks were sunshine. I had enough food stockpiled that I didn't need to risk pulling anything from my pocket dimension in front of mother-in-law. We ate, we slept, we sat around. For 3 days. In a jail cell. I was going crazy. In the apocalypse, downtime meant danger was coming. My body doesn't know how to relax. Eat, sleep, it felt wrong. I'd rather be outside marching through mud than sitting still with my own thoughts. Then my fox spirit dropped a bomb. Master, flash flood arriving in approximately 1 hour. Prepare for evacuation. Every nerve in my body fired at once.
sleep? Gone.
Comfort?
Gone.
We were in a low-lying area after 3 days of continuous heavy rain. The math was simple and terrifying. I went to mother-in-law. Mom, I went outside earlier and checked the conditions. I have a bad feeling. I think a flash flood is coming. Aren't you overthinking this? Maybe. But I'm going to talk to the head guard. And will you pack everything? Get Uncle Luo's family ready too. Don't wait for me. I bribed a guard to take me to the head guard. At this point, my relationship with the guards was basically a subscription service, monthly payments for premium access. Nobody made snide comments about me visiting the head guard privately anymore. After Yun Zhang's "she's selling her body" accusation got publicly demolished, that particular slander was permanently retired. If I said I needed to see the head guard, people assumed it was actually important. Mother-in-law packed everything and told the Yun families to do the same. They looked at her like she was crazy. It's still raining. We're not going anywhere. She shrugged and kept packing. Their funeral. Possibly literally. The head guard heard me out. There's going to be a flash flood tonight. We need to evacuate. Everyone.
Now. He didn't laugh.
He remembered the rain prediction. He remembered every time I'd been right about something nobody believed. But he also wasn't fully convinced. I laid out my case. It's been raining for 3 days straight. Qinghai County has flooding problems every rainy season because the dams were built with embezzled funds. The Hu brothers told me this. They're from here. We're sitting in a low-elevation area. Water flows downhill. When that dam gives way, and it will, we'll be underwater before we can react. Logical. Evidence-based. Impossible to dismiss. How long do we have? Less than an hour. He paused, then went to talk to the station manager. While he was gone, I had my fox spirit scan for safe ground. 5 miles east, higher elevation. We'll be above the flood line. I ran the numbers. 1 hour. 5 miles. 60+ people, many in chains. It would be tight, but doable. The head guard came back with bad news. The station manager, a man who'd lived here for over a decade, dismissed the warning completely. I've been here 15 years. Never had a flood. Relax. And the head guard, who'd been disclosed to believing me, wavered. Maybe the station guy was right. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe the rain prediction was just a coincidence. I could see it in his eyes. He was choosing comfort over caution. 1 hour. The clock was ticking. And nobody wanted to move. The head guard came back from talking to the station manager, looking unconvinced. He says he's been here 15 years.
No floods. Ever.
We're fine. I was not fine. My fox spirit doesn't make mistakes. That flood was coming whether this guy believed it or not. Time to play my trump card. Cold, hard cash. Let's make a bet, I said. I bet there will be a flash flood tonight. You take us east to higher ground. If I'm wrong, if nothing happens, I pay you 100 taels of silver. Free money for a midnight walk. I watched the gears turn in his head. 100 taels. For just walking in a direction. If I was wrong, he'd be rich. If I was right, he'd be alive. He hesitated.
Fine.
I'll trust you this once. Yes. Money talks. Money screms. 100 taels just bought us a chance at survival. He rallied his men, gathered all the prisoners, and we moved out. The station workers watched us leave in the rain like we were insane. Their faces said, "These people are idiots." Our faces said, "We'd rather be alive idiots." The prisoners were confused and annoyed, dragged out of shelter into a rainstorm at night for no apparent reason. But prisoners don't get to ask questions. They just walk. We headed east, following my fox spirit's directions. 5 miles to high ground. One of the guards questioned it. "Boss, why are we going east?" "That's not the route." The head guard couldn't exactly say because a prisoner offered me 100 taels to walk this direction, so he went with, "Shut up and walk." Effective leadership. About 30 minutes into our march, we heard hoofbeats behind us. The station workers, the same people who'd told us there was nothing to worry about, came galloping up in full panic mode. "We just got word from headquarters." Flash flood. Heading straight for the station. "Run east. Higher ground. Go, go, go." The station manager who'd said, "I've been here 15 years, nothing to worry about," blew past us on horseback without even stopping. Just raw survival energy. Goodbye confidence, hello terror. The head guard looked at me. Deep breath. She was right breath. Everyone move faster. Drop anything unnecessary. This is life or death. People started throwing things. Blankets, pots, random items. Anything heavy hit the ground, lightening the load for the sprint of their lives. Mother-in-law hesitated. Wanning, should we drop our things too? We've accumulated so much. Keep everything. Give it to me. The Hu brothers, bless these men, immediately grabbed our bags without being asked. Between them, Moyu and me, we carried every single item. Nothing left behind. Other prisoners watched with bitter disappointment. They'd been hoping we'd drop something valuable so they could scavenge. Sorry, folks. This family doesn't litter. We ran 5 miles in 30 minutes. Chains clinking, rain pounding, hearts hammering. We made it to the hilltop with about 30 minutes to spare. I confirmed with my fox spirit, this was safe ground. "We can stop here," I told the head guard. After the station manager's confirmation, he believed me completely now. He ordered everyone to stay put. "How did you know?" he asked, genuinely baffled. I shrugged. Intuition. Mine's pretty accurate. What was I supposed to say? My interdimensional fox spirit has satellite-level terrain mapping and real-time weather analysis. Yeah, that'd go over great. Moyu set up a small tent with our waterproof fabric. Our family and Uncle Luo's family squeezed in. Everyone else stood in the rain. Not ideal, but alive. Then we saw it. 30 minutes later, the floodwater came. Not a trickle, not a stream. A wall of brown, churning, debris-filled destruction. It swallowed trees whole. It erased the landscape. Everything below our elevation became an instant lake. The station where we'd been sleeping? Underwater.
Completely.
The beds we'd been lying in 30 minutes ago were now at the bottom of a muddy river. If we'd stayed, every single one of us would be dead.
No exceptions. No survivors.
60-plus people, drowned in their sleep. The head guard stood before everyone and said loudly enough for all to hear, "If not for Mrs. Luo's warning, we would all be dead right now. Every one of us owes her our lives." He said it publicly, deliberately, making sure every guard knew exactly who'd saved them. I deflected. "I just warned you. You believed me. That's what saved us." He had the decency to look embarrassed, considering he'd almost not believed me and was partly motivated by a 100-tael bet. "Speaking of which, the 100 taels, forget it. I owe you, not the other way around." He paused, then made a promise that was worth far more than silver. "I can't release you, but from now on, anything you need on this road, my men and I will help. You have my word." That was the real prize. Not money. I had 200 million gold coins. What I needed was cooperation. Official support. Guards who'd look the other way, open my chains when I asked, buy supplies for me, and protect my kids. One flood warning just bought me all of that. We were stranded on that hilltop for 4 days. 2 days waiting for the water to recede. 2 more waiting for the mud to dry enough to walk on without sinking knee-deep. Food became critical. The head guard rationed what the guards had, and even shared some with the prisoners who had nothing. Fair, considering those prisoners almost died under his watch. Our family was fine. I had plenty stored.
But I worried about theft.
Desperate. Hungry people do desperate, hungry things. I quietly arranged security with the Hu brothers. If anyone tries to take our food by force, handle it. They agreed instantly. Zero hesitation. These men were loyal to their bones. When things got really tight, I distributed my dried pine mushrooms to feed the whole group. Moyu watched me give away what he calculated was a small fortune in mushroom value. Sister-in-law, you're just giving all that away. Mother-in-law stepped in. Your sister-in-law is doing the right thing. Money is just a thing. You can always earn more. Then she turned to me. Wanning, I know this cost you. When my embroidery sells, the money goes to you. I refused. That's your work. You keep it. No. Maching isn't here. You're the head of this household now. The money goes to you. She said it with such finality.
Such respect.
She just officially declared me the matriarch of the Han family in her husband and son's absence. This woman, who lost everything, who's chained and exiled, who's walking toward an uncertain future in a frozen wasteland, just handed me the keys to the family with complete trust. Then she sighed. The Han family has brought you nothing but suffering. No, Mom. The Han family brought me you. And these 3 incredible kids. And sweet, clueless Moyu. That's not nothing. That's everything. 5 days. 5 days we sat on that hilltop waiting for the world to drain. When my fox spirit finally gave the all-clear, southwest is passable, I told the head guard, and he didn't hesitate for a second. No more skepticism. No more are you sure. No more betting. The man who once needed a 100-tael bribe to listen to me now followed my directions like I was his personal GPS. We went southwest. It worked. We walked right off that hill onto solid ground. The head guard was visibly impressed, but trying not to show it. He was probably wondering if I was some kind of prophet. I'm not. I'm just a woman with an interdimensional fox that has better mapping software than Google. By evening, we stumbled into a small village, Lotus Village, in Linya County. The head guard had no idea where we were. He'd been traveling the northern exile route for years, but this detour had dropped us completely off his mental map. The villagers saw a column of uniformed guards marching in and panicked. They thought officials had come to arrest someone. The village chief sprinted out in full damage control mode. Officers, what brings you here? Nobody's committed any crimes. We're law-abiding. Very law-abiding. Turns out this county had a fantastic incentive system. If no one in your village committed a crime all year, you got a pig at New Year's. A whole pig. These people were protecting their pork bonus with their lives. Nobody jaywalked. Nobody littered. The crime rate was 0 because the reward was bacon. Honestly, more effective than any justice system I've seen in 2 lifetimes. The head guard explained we were just passing through after a flood detour. The village chief practically melted with relief. He offered us food, shelter, and hospitality with the enthusiasm of a man whose annual pig was still secure. The head guard, being cautious, insisted on paying for food. The villagers refused payment. Genuine, wholesome, your guests' energy. These people hadn't been corrupted by city life. They were just
nice.
Refreshingly, suspiciously nice. We got a real dinner that night. Hot food. Vegetables. And the head guard was in such a good mood that even the prisoners got better portions. Our family scored half a chicken. Half.
A
chicken. The other prisoners saw it and didn't dare complain. After I'd saved literally everyone's life from a flash flood, nobody was going to argue about my family getting extra poultry. The head guard checked his map and grimaced. The flood detour had pushed us 2 counties off course. We were now looking at an extra 10 to 15 days of travel. Not ideal, but also not his fault. Floods don't care about schedules. The village chief mentioned there was a county market happening the next day, one of those every 10 days trading events. His son could guide us there. Perfect timing. I had mushrooms to sell, supplies to buy, and a very important promise to keep. Mama, are we really getting rabbits today? Qiling had been vibrating with excitement since I mentioned it at dawn. She hadn't forgotten. 5-year-olds have terrifyingly selective memories. They'll forget to put on shoes, but remember a food promise from a week ago with prosecutorial precision. Yes, baby. Rabbits today. She practically levitated with joy. My little carnivore. The head guard continuing his new policy of give the Luo family whatever they want because she literally saved my life, unlocked the children's chains for the march. No more iron shackles on 5-year-olds. This was a genuine kindness. Those chains were too heavy for tiny wrists and long-term where could cause real damage. We traveled 2 hours to reach the county seat. Along the way, the usual welcoming committee appeared, townspeople throwing rotten vegetables and, this time, rocks at us. Cabbage I can ignore. Rocks?
No.
Someone chucked a stone at our group. I snatched it out of the air, mid-flight, barehanded, and whipped it right back at the thrower. Direct hit. He threw another one. I caught it. Returned to sender. Bullseye. 3rd time. Same result. 3 for 3. Perfect accuracy. The guy finally got the message and redirected his throwing arm at a different part of the convoy. Poor Yunjiang caught several rocks because she was old and slow. Multiple lumps on her head. Lightning and rocks in the same week. The universe was really committed to its Yunjiang punishment arc. Moyu watched my stone-catching exhibition with his jaw on the floor. Sister-in-law, how are you so accurate? When did you learn that? Oh. Catching projectiles out of the air with military precision isn't exactly a delicate noblewoman's skill. Mother-in-law was within earshot. Needed a cover story.
Fast.
Remember how I used to play pitch-pot at banquets? Same skill.
Just.
Applied differently. Pitch-pot is a party game where you toss arrows into a vase. The original Wanning was apparently a champion at it. Even the Empress had praised her once. Moyu's eyes widened with recognition. Oh, right. You're the pitch-pot queen. I forgot. Practice makes perfect, I said casually, like I hadn't just demonstrated combat-grade hand-eye coordination from 10 years of zombie warfare. We reached the county seat. The rock throwers mysteriously stopped once we were inside the walls. Apparently public assault is more of a suburban hobby. The county office wasn't open yet, so we joined the crowd waiting outside. Market day was about to begin. Mushrooms to sell, rabbits to buy, and a little girl's dream to fulfill. Let's do this.